Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a great show today, folks. Jessica Freeberg on the way in just a bit with Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. But first, I want to talk a little bit about generations. I want to talk a little bit about whether it's nature and nurture and whether or not we are doomed to repeat the sins of the father. I read a really cool book this weekend. And, you know, this one hits home because judges run in my family and the law runs in my family. So it's kind of fun to talk about whether the mistakes of the father run and the grandfather in this case run down the bloodline and whether you have to repeat that. Is it genetic? In other words, to grow up a criminal or see crime around you and have to repeat it. You know, a lot of times in this criminal justice system, you hear things like, well, it's part of my environment. You know, it's what I grew up around. So that's what I learned and that's what I do. But do you have to? And my guest today is one that wrote a book that shows you that, you know what, you don't necessarily have to go down that road. My guest today is Judge Michael Randazzo. Or actually, I believe it's Randazzo. He's a dedicated public servant, accomplished attorney, and respected community leader, born prematurely and told he would face lifelong challenges. Mike overcame adversity to become the first in his family to graduate high school, eventually earning his Juris Doctorate from St. Louis University School of Law and passing the Missouri Bar in 2010. Throughout his career, Mike has embodied leadership and service, prosecuting over 50 jury trials, including high-profile murder cases, and offering over 100 hours of pro bono work annually for veterans, police, and children. And in 2020, he was elected as Division II Circuit Judge for Missouri's 42nd Judicial Circuit. And by 2020, he became the youngest presiding circuit judge in the state. I want to bring him in now, and let's talk about the new book called Presiding Overshadows, From Chaos to Order in the Court. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in Judge Michael. Is it Randazzo or Randazzo?
It's Randazzo. It probably had a little more ethnic flair where it came from, but for me, just a country boy here in the Midwest, it's Randazzo. But simplest way I can pronounce it.
See, I would think it would be Randazzo, wouldn't it?
I think it's actually Randazzo.
Randazzo? Yeah.
It's got that little Italian flair, but
yeah.
Either way, I've never pronounced it that way, and I don't even try to get people to get it right. In fact, it gets butchered all the time. So Randazzo's good.
Randazzo. Okay. See, in my inner voice as I'm reading the book, I'm thinking Randazzo. But that's just me. That's the up here. I'm not too far away from you. I'm in Minneapolis. So, and you know, over in St. Paul, we have a huge Italian center in St. Paul. So, you know,
some of those Italians might disagree with me.
They would tell you speak like the old country. It's probably Randazzo or Randazzo, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but no, it is what it is, right?
That's right.
That's right. Let's talk about the old country. Let's start out and talk about the old country, and let's talk about some of your relatives and your beginnings, because really it's interesting to talk about where it is we come from and whether it shapes us here, Mike. You know, when I sit down with my relatives, we always talk about genealogy. We talk about where it is we come from. And my aunt is the genealogist in the family. And it's amazing how we can trace our genealogy all the way back to, I mean, there's one sector of the family you can trace all the way back to ancient Rome, right? And I get fascinated with genealogy and where it is we come from. And there's good sectors of our family, not so good sectors of our family, you know. With your immediate family, it doesn't start out so great, does it?
It does not. And just, you know, going back genealogy wise, that was really part of the thing that inspired me to write this book. I knew a lot of things about people, but I wanted to know about not just where they lived, but who they really were. Going back, the name Randazzo, it's a small city on the base of Mount Etna in the island of Sicily. And that's where I believe the last name came from. And there's a story in the book about whether that really even should have been my great grandfather's last name or not.
Mhm.
He was an Italian citizen, actually was born en route to the United States on a ship. And when he arrived here, since he had left a port in Italy, he was an Italian citizen, not a United States citizen. His mother got asked who he was, and she didn't speak any English whatsoever. She gave the name Giuseppe, and that Americanized, that's Joe or Joseph.
Mhm.
Uh, but she kept repeating the name Randazzo, or the city Randazzo is what I believe.
Yes.
And so it really, and going back in like ancestry.com, things that I could find, I couldn't find much beyond my great grandfather, Joseph Randazzo, as far as the Randazzo family goes. Now, his mother was Dominica Lafata, and I found plenty of records for her. And so really there's some mystique still about whether that should have been my grandfather's last name or not. He was the only Randazzo that I know from his family that came to the United States. His father would have remained in Italy, and they never had contact again. And so my grandpa Joe comes to the United States with his mom. He's born on the way here. They end up in Chicago, and through some channels, ended up coming south from Chicago into St. Louis, and he settled in St. Louis. And he surrounded himself with a bunch of Italians, and that was just the way that they got by. The Italian culture is really one where you stick together. It's family. And there are lots of family secrets, things that are kept inside the family that are never told outside the family. And in a way, this book is a betrayal of that sort of familial uh, norm. But realistically, this book also sheds lights on who these people were, and not always painting them in a bad light, but giving the good and the bad about all of my ancestors. And so my grandpa Joe he became a member of the St. Louis Mafia, and was a made man for a while. Him and his brother-in-law, whose name was Mike Benigno, um, were involved in a bunch of stuff here in St. Louis. They uh, Things kind of went south for them. They both end up in prison at some point, and when my grandpa gets out of prison, he says he's done. He wants to be done. He actually had made it long enough that he had two children that was in already made men in the mafia, and he had a couple that were younger. My grandpa was the youngest of his children, so my grandpa Nick was Joe's youngest child, and he was about 14, 15 at the time, and he was just waiting for his moment to be brought into the business. He never got that.
Now, Mike, is that the grandpa that tells the story that he got pulled over for apples?
It is. And so the family story was, and I think if you think about it, it makes some sense.
Mhm.
We don't want to tell our kids necessarily the really, really bad character flaws that our ancestors have, that our grandparents or, our own father has. But the story in my family was that Grandpa Joe got pulled over one day. He had some stolen apples, and then he got sent to prison. And that was why he went to prison. That's why he was gone from his family for some years. I never believed that. I just knew too much about the system. And the older I got, the more I learned about the criminal justice system. The punishment didn't fit the crime.
Mhm.
And so I did some digging. I found some archives, and he did get pulled over with some stolen apples at one point in his life. He got a fine for that. He had to pay some money, but he didn't go to prison for that one. He went to prison for selling heroin.
Ooh, yikes.
And
That's a
so
little
he was,
different than apples.
yeah, a lot more than apples. But I mean, in retrospect, it was a good story to tell your kids and your grandkids about where grandpa's at.
Right. I, you know, I, I wonder when you find that out, and I have to ask you this just as a side note. When you find that out, does it change the way you look at your grandfather in your own eyes?
It changes. So here's what it changed for me. It changes sort of these fundamental beliefs that you have about people.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't believe it's changed the way that I felt about any of these people, though. It gives me more of perspective about why they did and how they did the things that they did, and why I sort of had this proclivity to do certain things during my lifetime. But it doesn't change the relationships that I had, and in fact, it may make those relationships feel even more true, because people have character flaws. People have really bad things that they've done in their lives, but they still have redeeming qualities as well. and it gives me this sort of holistic, or at least a whole person approach to knowing who these people were and why I am the way I am.
Do you feel like knowing that you've got this, and I'm not trying to jump to the end here by any means, but just to kind of set things up a little bit here, do you feel like seeing and knowing that grandpa, great grandpa are involved in these activities, does that kind of push you to want to rebel from that type of bad behavior, to want to be better than that?
It absolutely did. And realistically, had I not known some of the things or saw some of the things with my own eyes that I did in my life, I probably don't turn out the way that I do. I have this really big aversion to drug use. I've seen addiction, I've seen drug sales, drug trafficking, bad things happening in my family to people in the family and to people outside the family. And I've always, going back to even when I was in high school, when other people were using, trying drugs, or in college when people were trying drugs for the first time, I just refused to do it. Now that doesn't. I've drank alcohol, and every once in a while I still will drink some alcohol today. I really like to be in control of my own mind,
Mhm.
and when I'm out of control in my own mind, it brings a serious amount of anxiety in my life. And sometimes alcohol lets me relax a little bit, but other times it actually brings upon that anxiety where I feel like I don't have control over what's happening in my own life. And that's been a real, real struggle for me as I've progressed as an adult.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I'm not a huge drinker either. If I have a couple of drinks a year, that's a lot.
Same here. That's
Yeah,
the same.
yeah. So it's not a huge thrill for me. It really isn't. And is that, now? Let me ask you this, because maybe it's a psychological profile thing. Is that a control issue?
I mean, I feel like yes. So primarily, I want to be in control of my brain, my body, and the way that things are happening around me. And part of that, I think, is just my personality, but part of it is the very real, parts of my life where I saw the effects of drug use, and still very much today. I write about, in the book, a really deep, concerning story, and I compared it to a time when I was, I had my dog that was nearing the end of his life and his body was failing him, and some of the things that were happening to him, and I compared those to watching one of my family members go through the exact same thing with drug withdrawals.
Mhm.
And how I literally said the same words, thinking it may be the last time I get to talk to those, to my beloved dog Ranger, or to my father. And that's, I watched that happen, and my father was survived, and we have a great relationship today. I accept him for what he is, and the things that he's done. I accept all of those things, and despite those things, I love him deeply.
Yeah, we talked to Chris Washburn last week about the disease of drug addiction, and how it tore him down, took him down, and took him down a road of not only crime, but took him down the road of just personal ruin. And it's a horrible disease, a lifelong disease, but you can see redemption at the end of it, which he did. Um, and I asked, the reason why I ask if it's a control thing is I find a lot of times, um, kids who go through a lot of turmoil as as children, will in their later lives choose to stay away from substances or controlled substances, or even abusing controlled substances, because it does spin them out of control, and they never had control when they were younger and choose to maintain it as they were older.
So I would agree with that. And that, going back to the psychological profile, there's some things that's happened in my life that I didn't have control. They didn't have anything to do with substances. I had a proclivity to get into fights when I was younger, and when I would get into a fight, I'm sure it was part of my fight or flight response, sort of just this, innate, just my body and my mind shutting down and just going into survival mode. But I would have times where I would get into a fight and then black out and legitimately not remember what happened during a fight. Tell another story in the book that's, I believe, genetic. My dad had the same problem, and got himself into some serious trouble. Really, other had he not been in the mental state that he was in, he would have spent quite some time in prison, I suspect. And I would not be here because that was right in the time in life in my, in my parents' life where they were meeting and they were having somewhat of a courtship. And I was a result of that.
Let me take you back a little bit here then, Mike, because there's an interesting transition here, and I know we're kind of going all over the place, but I like where we're going here. Um, what does it take for you to turn that off? Because it takes a lot to go from violence to peace. So where do you make that transition in your life where you decide, I'm going to stop fighting people at random?
That happened when I had my first child.
Yeah.
Um, I went from worrying about protecting myself and sort of my own, I guess, inclinations, and started worrying about what things I would do or how things I did would affect my children. And some of those things, intentionally, I wanted to stay away from. As far as I know, none of my children have gotten into any serious fights during their entire childhood and into their adulthood, which was not the case for me, my dad, my grandfather, or my great grandfather. And so I could see that cycle breaking, but it took some conscious effort on my part to do that. I recognized a familiar pattern was happening with just this inclination to commit violence. And I don't mean just random violent acts, but anytime I felt like I was wronged, that's what would happen. I never met a confrontation that I wasn't willing to meet. And the older I got, the more I realized those things don't really matter. And I think it takes some introspect, to try to figure out what those triggers are. What are those things that are causing you to react that way? But I never felt, now I always wanted to make sure I protected my children, but I never felt this inclination to just go out and get into a fight when my kids have been around. And so that really grounded me. In a lot of ways, I knew that I needed to be more docile. I knew that I needed to become more peaceful, as you said. And that's really been a benefit to my career, even. There are lots of things that happen in the courtroom. I've been a litigator for a lot of years, and people take a lot of things that happen personal. I've been able to separate sort of things personally from things that are being done professionally. I can get into a screaming match with another lawyer, or I could at some time, and afterwards we could go out and have dinner together. And it was there's nothing personal about that. In past points in my life, that screaming match would have turned into a fist fight.
There's something to be said about that, Mike, even for society. I think people have forgotten that you don't have to take everything personally, that there really is a business and a personal side to things, to everything.
I agree, and we need to learn how to disagree cordially. We
Right.
don't have to have the same views as everyone. In fact, sort of those different flavors of the world is what makes it a great place to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can't take these things so personally that we hate other people just because they make an argument that we don't agree with.
Right. Completely. Completely. And it's, the fact that, and it's, you can sit down, have disagreements, and even get to the point of being heated about it. But you can, at the end of the day, give somebody a handshake or a hug and say, hey, you know what? Good talk, and go have a beer with somebody. And what's funny is again, I don't want to throw this into a political realm, but I will for a quick second. I've worked both sides of the aisle in political radio, and I've seen legislators on both sides of the aisle work things out and then go have a beer afterwards. And it happens. It does happen. And it's funny that people think that it doesn't, but it does. It's kind of like people don't believe that politics and pro wrestling have anything in common. They really do. Everybody gets along, and it's kind of funny that people don't think it does, but it really does. Um, I find it interesting that you say that you can sit down with someone in litigation and have that screaming match and go have dinner with them. Um, because to me that kind of seems like therapy to you. Does it feel like therapy to you?
It does. It's really that sort of. I will say when I tried a case, there was always this after trial or post trial lull. Like it's just kind of just a adrenaline dump, and you feel like some weight's been lifted, but you're exhausted. I think that that's just a thing that happens in practice. I think it's a real phenomenon, but I also think it provides sort of some closure to that trial, to that issue, to that, and it gives you a chance to just kind of move on. It having that that lunch with somebody or having that beer with somebody, it helps you humanize them,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't do enough of that anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, one of the kind of crusades I'm on is to try to humanize judges in this country.
Yes.
Judges, we don't, there's a lot of negativity. There's really an indictment against judges in this country right now. There's no real way for judges to push back. Judges don't have the ability to really be political, so they can't put out videos and say, well, no, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I didn't do that, or I didn't do this. And we have ethical rules we have to follow. And the only way that I think that we can kind of push back on that sort of negativity is to do things like this, even just to have a real chat with somebody and say, well, that guy sounds like my neighbor. That guy sounds like my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like some old white guy who's barking orders from the bench, or just not what stereotypically we would say a judge is or what a judge does.
Yeah.
And I also want to kind of cure that misconception that judges are making decisions for the wrong reasons. I mean, I think we can disagree sometimes about what the law is, and we can do that cordially, as I said before. But even by disagreeing with what the law is, I have to believe that most judges, almost all judges, are doing it for the right reasons because they truly believe that's what the law is, and they're not trying to legislate from the bench or do things that they get accused of.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you that I think right now judges are getting a horrible name. That really, and it's a thankless job. It really is. The fact of the matter is I think if anyone is standing in front of one, they think they're going to get a raw deal. And that's not the case at all. If you're standing in front of one, chances are you probably did something.
Well, and in my experience, the big issue is that no matter what way I rule, one side of that ruling is going to be unhappy with that.
Right.
And in reality, the best rulings I probably make are the ones where both sides are relatively unhappy.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of what I do too, because, there is a lot of that kind of splitting the baby that happens in the courtroom. It's okay. Well, I agree with some of this and I agree with some of this. Now, how do I put it together?
Right. Right. So tell me a little bit about the stress that you go through then on a daily basis. What kind of stresses does that put on you? Do you find the job fulfilling or more stressful because of the splitting of the baby a lot of the times? Do you feel that maybe there's a lot more no-win scenarios, or are there a lot of more resolved scenarios than not?
So I think that there's a lot of stress associated with the job. I will say that. Part of my, I guess, coping with the stress that's associated is just finding outlets that are outside the courtroom that don't require me to do the level of thinking that I have to do there. One of the things I do, I coach youth sports still. I still coach one of my daughters, or my daughter, not one of my daughters, but my daughter's softball team. And softball field's always been kind of my happy place. I get to go back to being just like an 8-year-old kid running around on the ball field.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about what's going on outside the lines. I don't have to call balls and strikes like I do in the courtroom. And there's something freeing for me in doing that. But it is a very stressful job. But I would say that most situations, litigants just want to be heard. And if they can tell their side and, they can get out what they need to say, even if they don't necessarily agree with the final result, they feel like they've been heard. We've given them a voice, and, they don't always have to be happy with the decisions I make. I do want people to be confident in my courtroom that they are heard, number one, and two, that I've made a decision based upon the right reasons. And I get the feeling that most litigants are at least satisfied with the way that they were treated in the court, even if they're unhappy with the result.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, this is just me talking and nobody else. I would think that the stresses, and I'm glad that you have those outlets that you can get away from that, because I can see that stress build on a daily basis, having to put people's lives in your hand and then try to decide how you're going to determine their outcomes. Right. Um, to me, a lot of that weighs on my soul, right? Even it's the pebble in the pond philosophy, right? Um, I don't know that I could do that type of work because to me, every interaction I have with somebody touches me in some way or another, and affects my life in one way or another. Um, and maybe I'm just too darn sensitive or too darn empathic in that way. Um, but I commend you for being able to do that work because that to me seems like it carries a heavy burden or a heavy load. And we need people that can sit down and do that type of work for our society, that can represent our society and represent the law and be able to do what's fair to get things right for us, right? With that, I just wanted to put that out there because it is, again, a heavy burden that you carry, and it's appreciated. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Um, with that, I want to take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk more about presiding over shadows from chaos to order in the court, which, by the way, we have a link to in the description of this program. And I want to talk a little bit about how you turn that corner. And I want to talk about your family. And in particular, I want to talk about your immediate family and the influences you had over you as you decide to turn that corner. In particular, I want to talk about your grandfather, who's a particularly colorful character. And I want to talk about grandpas in general because uh, grandpas are quite a wonderful thing. They're the parent you have, but not and they may be the parent that influences you, and they may be the parent that raises you in particular too. In your case, I think we share something in common here. So I want to talk about your grandfather when we come back. I want to talk about your father as well and talk about male influence. We'll talk about that when we come back as well. The book is a wonderful one, folks. I encourage you to pick it up. Presiding Over Shadows, From Chaos to Order in the Court. Judge Michael Randazzo is our guest. We have a link in the description of this program. Please go pick it up. Wild Blue Press is the publisher. When we come back, more with Mike, and we'll talk grandfathers, fathers, and male influence. When we come back right here on the best in true crime podcasting, this is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Judge Mike Randazzo. The book is Presiding Over Shadows, From Chaos to Order in the Court. And it's a good one, folks. I encourage you to go get it. We have a link in the description of this program, so you can pick it up. Wild Blue Press is the publisher of this book. And again, a good one. Had the pleasure of being able to read this over the weekend. All right. So, Mike, I want to talk to you about grandfathers, fathers, and male influence. I don't think it's stressed enough how important it is, especially for a young man as he's growing up, to have that influence, not just to have a father at home, but really to have a grandfather that's there and around as well. It seems like the more you have that male influence around that's there and able to not just be around to give advice, but really raise you, really be there to do whatever they can to, I hate to use this term, but be that wind beneath your wings. God, I hate that. I hate the song. I hate everything about it, but it really is a good saying. It really does help you go from being a boy to a man, and really does put that foundation down for you. I want to get into talking about your grandfather because, boy, was he a colorful character, wasn't he?
He was larger than life. And I don't want to get too deep into this really, but the actual book title was not something that I was settled on. I wanted to actually name it something different. Wanted to call it Wrestling My Bear, because of one of the stories that I tell about my grandpa Nick, and that story means a whole lot to me. It shows, number one, that he was a larger than life kind of a guy. Never met a challenge that he wasn't up to. Never met a man that he didn't think he could beat up, and so he went outside the human race and went to the animal kingdom to try to find a match. And it showed how he was so sort of conceited or unhumble about his own, fighting abilities, that he was beaten badly. I mean, destroyed by this bear. My Uncle Sam probably saved him from some very serious injury by jumping in the ring and throwing in a towel to stop, to say, hey, this has to stop. Um, but at the end of the day, he got in the ring and fought a bear.
Man.
And he never should have won. I mean, that's what makes that story so heroic to me. Knowing that you have no chance of winning, but fighting anyway. That sort of that's kind of my story. It's against the odds that you go ahead and have the fight anyway, that you take on the challenge, and that you're really knowing that there's every odd is stacked against you. Let's see what happens anyway. And I took a lot of deep meaning in that story, but I took just so much from my grandfather. My grandpa Nick was my hero, and I make no qualms about it. He, at every point in my life when he could support me, he did that. At my very first days, he went out and just started making money and supporting both myself, my mom, my dad, his wife, my grandma, and himself, being a long haul over the road trucker, and kept working and working and working nonstop. Set off on one trip with no money, with nothing. His gas was paid for. He took a large bag of sunflower seeds and a gallon jug of water, and he headed out from Missouri to California and back, and didn't have a dime to his name, but he did that to provide for me, to make sure that I was not going to continue to struggle, because we struggled, but to just make my life, just 1% better, 1% better each time and each day that he could. And at the end, we ended up doing relatively well. My beginnings were very humble. When I was born, we were homeless completely.
Yeah.
My grandpa worked and worked and worked, ended up putting a roof over our heads, ended up sort of pulling himself up by the bootstraps. And he ended up owning a used car lot. I got to work there, and I didn't make much money there, but I made enough. I made enough that I could pay for my gas to go to college, pay for my gas to go to law school. And he made sure that every dollar that he earned somehow stretched beyond sort of the human limits that it should have stretched, because he was providing for so many people at that time. And he was relentless in that in his entire life. And even at the end of his life, when his health was failing and he could not do anything physically for me anymore, that's when I think I got the most moral support. I was, a practicing attorney running an election for a judge, and I was the candidate coming from the smallest county in the election. Fewest number of people probably knew me or knew the name. And so it meant that I had to outwork everyone else. And he was an inspiration for me, in doing that. He went out with us. We would have to physically load him into the vehicle, the truck, and he would go out and he would kind of bark orders from the truck. He couldn't get out of the truck and walk around, but he'd bark orders about where we should put signs, sign locations, who we should talk to, what business owners we should go talk to. Doing that at a time where his body was shutting down. He had multiple heart attacks, multiple strokes, and was really immobile, couldn't walk. But he was still doing that. It was still his way of shielding me, sort of, and helping me through this roadblock or this next step in my life. And that was really a full circle moment for us, because when I took the bench, nobody in my family had ever stood on that side. I was a prosecutor for a lot of years, and that was sort of a new role for us, because I was on the right side of the law when I was prosecuting those cases, or at least what I believe the right side of the law was.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when I took the bench, I got to watch my grandpa know that our family had come full circle before he died, and that meant the world to me. I mean, I can't explain how much that meant to me. He was alive to see me take the bench. A Randazzo was actually going to be a judge, and we had never been judges before. We'd only been judged. So this was such a difference in our lives. And I really say this book's about me, but this book's about us. And it's the good and the bad. And it really shows that we don't get to pick our family members, We don't get to stop them from doing stupid things sometimes, but we can love them despite those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think your grandfather had a huge amount. His heart had to swell with pride. I mean, with the immense amount of pain he had to be in, to go out with you there at the end and tell you what business owners to meet with and what sites to put signs on and whatnot. That takes a lot of pride in you in order to want to be out there and want to be working with you. Um, I mean, that's love and pride right there. That's what that is. And that's love and pride at its highest, right? Um,
And I will say he was not always the positive presence in my life because he and I had different beliefs about what it meant to be law abiding citizens or whether we should follow the law.
mhm.
He was brought up at a different time where it was more acceptable to sort of run afoul of the law, and that's just the way my family has always been sort of socialized. I knew better, but I wasn't always taught better.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, right? I mean, I'm sure he thought, well, I can get away with doing this, and I should because it'll get my family ahead and it'll help feed my family. And you know better,
And
right?
it was yeah, and it was very much risk reward. It's what's the risk in doing this versus what's the potential reward. And those are sacrifices that I see made on litigants that come in front of me all the time on the bench. I see that sacrifice very real. There's a different reason or a different way to punish those type of people versus the people that are truly, and I hate to say this, but I truly believe this. There are some people that are just evil people. There is darkness that exists in the world, and no matter what we do, we're not going to fix it. And my job is really separating those two. How do I determine one category from the other?
That brings up an interesting point here, Mike. Do you have a different perspective than some judges out there? Because and do other judges have that same discernment that you have?
I can't really speak for other judges, and I don't want to, but I will tell you that I believe that I have a unique perspective. Certainly was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and scratched and clawed my way every step of the way to where I got. And I think that every day I'm reminded of that I probably against the odds made it to where I am. And I always feel like I still have something to prove because I really never thought I deserved to be where I'm at. And not because of the hard work that I put in, but because of all of these sort of stains that exist, in my genetics and, just this sort of deviance that was ingrained in me. And so that's been the real struggle of my professional life is how can I separate myself from the sins that happened that, some of them were mine. I talk in the book about stuff that I did, but I talk about it in a way that I want to make sure that my kids are not burdened by those things. And that was kind of the main goal in writing this book was how do I inoculate my children from, this virus of deviance that's existed in this family? And can I? And it may be a vain pursuit, but I will never stop trying for them. I will say that, my main goal for them always has been that they're not burdened by the deeds of this last name or the sins of this last name, but that they get to stand on their own merits and they succeed or fail based upon their own achievement. And if I can do that, this book, this writing, this project, it's been more than I ever could have expected it to be.
Let me bring up a point here, Mike, and then follow me on where I'm going here, and you tell me whether I'm off base here or whether because you bring up an interesting saying here. You want to inoculate them from the I'm trying to remember how you put it. Inoculate them from the virus of, and I lost the last part of it, but I want to bring up a point here, and that's this. There's a saying: boys will be boys, kids will be kids. They tend to want to create their own trouble, right? I understand that you want to get them away from the Randazzo deeds of the past. You want to give them a new Randazzo name and reputation, and you've set that up. You've wiped the slate clean, so to speak.
I hope.
Oh no, you have. I believe you have. Because you've set the course, you've set the ship on a different course. Um, and you've established the Randazzo name in the community now as something different. It's not what it was. It's something new. Now they can hold their heads high in the community, and say, my dad is this. My dad is a judge. My dad is a member in good standing in the community. And they can make their own path. They essentially can choose their own path. It's up to them whether they want to make mistakes or not. But with that being said, again, kids will be kids, boys will be boys, girls will be girls, whatever you want to say. Is it a secret fear of yours that they'll peek into grandpa, great grandpa's past and go, but I wonder if the opportunity is available to go down that
So
road?
I think that they've got to live parts of it in their life. They've got to see the effects of some of those bad decisions that people made, before I was here, before they were here. Bringing those things to light, I think, gives them at least some perspective about why they shouldn't do those things. Because they can compare sort of the lives and the struggles that each of those ancestors have had versus my life now. And I'm not saying that I haven't struggled, because I certainly have, but they've got to experience the best part and the least amount of struggles in my life. And if for nothing else, I'm setting that example. I completely believe that people make mistakes, that, they absolutely could be in positions in their lives where they could find themselves in trouble. And I would support them even when that happens. I'm not going to turn my back on my kids, my family, regardless. But I think that having, basically putting all the cards on the table and saying, this is why you shouldn't do this, I think that's the way that we move forward. I think that's the way that we move forward in the system. I think that's what we may, in my own home, but as a society, I think that transparency is key. I think that that's what we've lacked for so long, is just being transparent about things. We don't have to like the things that people do. My kids have, I'm not trying to say that my kids are angels, because they've done things that they've gotten, into trouble for, in school or at home. But, and if they were to get themselves in serious trouble in the courts, that's part of life too. And I don't want them to think that that's a failure on their part, because they have people that they love, people that they've adored. They adored my grandpa Nick. I mean, they, even more so than I did. They thought he was perfect. I knew that he was human, but they thought he was just perfect. And even knowing that their thoughts about him, that he was perfect, that he had all of these flaws in his past, these things that he had done, they can internalize those things and realize, just because I messed up, just because I made a mistake, doesn't mean that I don't have redeeming qualities too. It doesn't mean that I can still do something or be something, and be something, even if you don't succeed in business or you don't succeed in education, you can succeed in being a family man. If you don't succeed in following the law, you can succeed in being a family man. That's a grandpa lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. With that, let me ask you this: as we start to wind up a little bit here, Mike, you bring up, you can succeed being a family man, and there's a perfect example here, I think, in the relationship with your father, because you mentioned that things have been getting better with him. Is it easy for you to point now and point your kids to the relationship and the developing relationship that you're having with your father? Is it a sticky situation that you can bring that example up to your kids? It's an ongoing situation, I know. But do you want to talk a little bit about your dad and what's been going on with him,
Yeah, sure.
and how you can relate that to your kids and say, there's been this situation with grandpa, and there's a reason why you shouldn't go down these roads?
Yeah, and my dad's a great example of that. He was not taught better, and obviously he didn't know better. There are lots of times where he's got himself into situations where, number one, he should have been in a lot of trouble, including fist fights and lots of things when he was younger. But even when he got older, he got himself involved in very seriously with some Mexican cartel members. He was selling drugs with those Mexican cartel members, and he was using, and he continued to use, and he's been hurt sometimes in his life, and he was, prescribed opioids and very strong opioids, and it's been a continuing struggle for him to get off of opiates. And I say continuing, even today, he struggles with that. And my kids are old enough that they also get to see that. And they get to see, like, grandpa has good days and grandpa has bad days. And I, I would have loved to have shielded my kids from those type of things. But in my own life, those are the things that kept me on the straight and narrow. Like, I knew if you use drugs, you could end up like this person. You could end up in these situations. And I hope that they are getting something out of that too. I think that they're old enough and they're intelligent enough. They're smart enough that even if I hadn't told them certain things, they're perceptive and they know what's going on. None of my children are sort of dumb to those facts. And I wasn't when I was young either. It was always kind of a secret. And my dad and I have discussed this a lot. My dad didn't know that I knew the things that he was doing. He thought he was kind of shielding me from those things. And because he was not bringing many of those things into the house specifically. He was leaving. He would be gone for periods of time and he would do what he was doing. Like, he was selling drugs or he was whatever he was doing. He would leave the house. He would be gone for a while. And then he'd come back with some money. And he thought in a way that that was shielding me from it, but that I didn't have any understanding or didn't know what he was doing. And even, at 15 years old or 16 years old, I was aware. And I was perceptive enough to know he didn't have a job, but he was coming back with a lot of money at certain points in times.
I think you're probably doing the best thing you can for the kids to let them see grandpa for what he is in the context that they can see him for. I mean, they don't have to see all the ugliness, but they see it in the context that they can see it in. Right. And know that, not everybody's perfect. That grandpa has his good days and his bad days. And I think that the one, if I can comment, the one thing from the book that I think was the most alarming to me was the fact that your grandfather on occasion would enable your father.
Yeah. And so my grandpa, and that's sort of something I want to make sure they understand too. You can be complacent enough or you can be implicit in certain things that are happening if you don't stop it. If you're in a position to stop those things or a position of to make an impact or say, hey, don't do this, and you don't do that, you're condoning it. And that's the only way to view it. And for a long time, I think my grandpa struggled with that. But in a very real way, my grandpa was implicit in what my dad was doing too. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he was bringing him money and money that didn't have an explanation. And he accepted it. And basically, again, it came back to, I think, the risk versus reward for him. This money's getting made. There's no risk in me taking this money. And the reward's great. I mean, it's, you have to have money to live. And we got involved in certain different things in our, throughout the trajectory of my life. The car lot, we had a used car lot, but we also had thoroughbred racehorses, which is just as shady a business as the used car lot was, or probably even more so. And lots of money, more money goes through the thoroughbred horse racing than anywhere else or anything else that we'd ever been involved in. You can make a lot of money, but you can spend a lot of money and you can lose a lot of money pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And when your horses are running well, you can make a lot of money. And when they're not running well, you've got a lot of bills to pay. We went through a time where our horses weren't running well, but dad was still bringing home winning checks and grandpa was cashing them. So, and I don't mean very real, like actual checks, but I mean, he was bringing home cash and grandpa was taking it. And, under the guise that this was money getting made off of horses that weren't running well enough to make money.
Yeah. Not good. Not good at all. So I guess with that, Mike, you're at a point now where your dad has, like you said, he has his good days and his bad days, but essentially that relationship is getting better, though, correct?
It is. And I really think to be transparent about it, it's come after some acceptance. I don't expect my dad to be something that he's not at this point. He's 60 years old or almost 60 years old. And he's going to be what he is. And despite the things that I know that, his flaws and the bad things, he genuinely cares about me, genuinely cares about my kids. And he he at this point even makes sacrifices in his own life that benefits us. That's not always been the case. And he it's taken a lot of talking. We've had some pretty deep conversations, he and I, and I appreciate those conversations because it gives me perspective. In one way, he knew that he was doing things that were wrong and things he shouldn't be doing. But in another way, it was the way that he thought that he could best provide what he thought we needed. We being, me and my brother and my mom and my grandpa or whoever else could benefit from it. And in that way, I really forgive him for a lot of the things that have happened. Um, I I still don't believe that he's perfect, and I never will at this point. But if I can accept him and meet him where he's at, and that's probably the best way to put it, I've never been willing to meet him where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm willing to meet him where he's at, I can have a good relationship with him. And I just have to know that there are certain limits to, his abilities and his character.
Yeah.
And I don't have to compromise mine to do that. And that's been the big struggle because it always felt like I may have to compromise myself to do that, and I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. You've come too far. And the thing is, I mean, he's got a way to come in order to meet that middle. And he should know that. I mean, that you've done everything you can to bring your family name. I want to put this carefully, um, to a very good spot. I'll put it that way. To bring it to a very good spot in the community. And I think it's only fair of him to put that same effort in that you put in. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair. And again, expectations are something that I've really learned to sort of minimize. If you don't set expectations on what certain people, certain things should be, you don't have to live with sort of a failure or not meeting those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned, and I've grown so much though, just in writing the book, it was therapeutic, but I've grown and I've learned to really analyze those relationships. Like lots of things happen and they come from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
People can do bad things, but I think that we still have the ability to love them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of the, I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but we talked a whole lot about the Randazzo side of my family, and certainly they've done lots of things. Lots of other grandparents that have done very bad things too. On my dad's mom's side, on my mom's dad's side, on my mom's side, like literally every generation of men in this family have been perpetrators. Perpetrators, and not necessarily, most people think perpetrator, they think sex crime, but they've committed crimes.
Yeah.
And all of the females have been victims. And again, I have sons and a daughter, and I had to break that somehow. I had to figure out how to do this. And I've tried for years to say, well, if I reach this achievement on my own, like if I do this, it'll atone for that. I talk about a story where my brother and I saved a couple of women's lives at the beach. And that, I thought about that a whole lot. That story meant a lot to me because I thought that, I was sort of, this is me atoning for lots of the bad things that my family has done. This is a way to like, okay, are we right, God? Are we right? Are we good? And about how that never, it was never a sort of negotiation. It was never something that I had the ability to negotiate. And once I realized that, I learned how to deal with some of the things that had happened, but try to prevent them from happening in the future. And this may all be a vain pursuit. I don't know how the future turns out, but I will tell you that if I can at least assist my kids in some way, I've done my job.
See, when I read that story in the book, and again, folks, I encourage you to pick up Presiding Over Shadows and read this story because it's really kind of inspiring to me. That's kind of a turning point where, to me, it's establishing not only the character of you and your brother Kevin, but it's really, to me, saying, you know what, that it's setting you up for the rest of your life, right? It's setting you up for, maybe I'm not putting this eloquently enough here, Mike. It's setting your foundation. It's just saying, you know what, you're not only are you going to get through this struggle, but you're going to get through every other struggle and every other challenge that's set before you, that you're going to be okay. And not only that, but you're going to uplift everyone else that is put in your path that needs help as well. And it's just one example of everything that's going to be put before you.
Well, and I can appreciate that perspective, certainly. In some ways, though, the way that, I tell the story, and it's very true exactly how it happened. But there was an amount of deviance on mine and my brother's part by even going into the water that day to save these people. Like, we were told we were going to be arrested if we got in the water. But I wasn't willing to accept that. I felt like I had some moral obligation. If I could swim out and assist, I needed to do that, even though the first responders are standing on the beach saying, don't go out there. And, it turned out all right. I don't want to give away the ending, but certainly it turned out fine for us. But that was one of those situations where, had my moral compass not been a little bit askewed, I might have just stood on the beach and watched as those two people drowned.
Right.
And so, it was kind of a full circle moment for me, though. And you're right. It helped sort of change my focus or change the way that I thought about myself. We still had redeeming qualities. My brother and I have struggled a lot just because of who our family was. We proved even that day that despite those things, we could make a difference in other people's lives. He's chosen a career where he gets to do that. I've done the same. And, despite all these circumstances, I wrote this book from my perspective, but he's went through every single thing that I did almost everything. And he's been right there the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And so he very, very much feels the same way as me. I'm thankful the way that we've turned out. Certainly could have broke different for us many different times in our lives and probably should have. But somehow, some way, we both were resolute and we were resolved enough that we weren't going to let our family, our generation of this family, fall back into that same pattern.
Not only fall back into that pattern, but I think now the two of you are creating a whole new generation, and you're recreating the name and recreating what it is to be Randazzo, right?
I sure hope so.
I think you have. I think you have. I think you've gone and exceeded far beyond what you thought you were going to do. So, and now you have a book out there.
Yeah. Another first. Not, I wrote this book. I got it finished, and I just need to plug. Before we get done, I have to plug one person's name.
Sure.
I had this teacher in high school that I was going to quit high school. Got into a fight, got kicked out of school for some time, got crossways with the principal. Tell the story in the book, but Miss Pinkley she would not let me give up. No one in my family had ever went to high school. I didn't know how to get into college, didn't know how to apply for scholarships, didn't know how to, get scholarship fees or application fees waived, didn't know how to do any of those things. Had no idea and wouldn't have figured that out on my own. But Miss Pinkley wouldn't let me give up. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. She was always honest with me, and I made a promise to her and she made a promise to me, and we both fulfilled those promises. Wrote the book, and I was so excited. I got this book. It's in my hand. I'm delivering this book to her with, an inscription and signed, with love, and kind of hand it to her. And she tells me she's proud of me and she gives me a hug. And she says, I got to be honest with you. Out of all the students that I really felt like I helped, you're the one that I thought was least likely to write a book. She said, you were a terrible writer. And she said, like, and even at that time, though, she kind of knocked me down a peg, but I might have needed that. I mean, I always felt like I was kind of humble about things. But my wife reminded me not too long ago that, you think you're humble, but you did write a book about yourself. So, but I do have women in my life, or not just women, but I have people in my life. Those are two women specifically, but that have kept me grounded. And they know how to be the right kind of tough and tender. They know how to support me when I need the supports and ground me when I need grounded a little bit when my head swells. And so, those I can't underestimate the impact those people have had on my lives too. And especially Miss Pinkley. I certainly don't end up where I'm at educationally without her help.
Well, and that's wonderful. But Mike, has once Miss Pinkley has read the book, is she going to get back to you with a review?
She has since, and she's told me that she's very proud of my writing.
Okay.
And that she was impressed by my mastery of the spoken word, I think is what or of the written word, she said.
Okay.
Which is amazing because she's been honest with me forever, every chance she's got. And she told me that I was a terrible writer. And to be real honest, I was. In my own self, I would have never expected, even 2 years ago, that I would write an actual book, much less get somebody, convince somebody to publish it and be doing, media right now and, podcasts, video, television, even pushing a book that I wrote about myself. I mean, it's sort of surreal. But it's also sort of this atonement. And I want to make sure that I don't want to glorify anything that's happened, anything that anybody else has done. There's always been sort of this glorification of the mafia and kind of just, through film, through books. The Godfather was a big part of that. Lots of, mobster movies, though. There's a glorification of what those people did, and sort of a way that we look at it different than what it really was. They did some bad stuff. And I'm not in any way trying to glorify any of that. In fact, I'm doing quite the opposite.
Right. Right. I'm kind of more into the whole wrestling a bear thing. I mean, I know how it's done. I've been on that side of it. I promoted wrestling for 10 years. And I could tell you that's pretty brave to go in without having it fixed. I mean, I'm surprised your grandpa actually went in and did that without knowing the actual trick to it.
I don't think he had that type of awareness that he thought that he really was going to be injured in some way. I think he thought really like, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to knock this bear out. Like he thought I'm going to throw a punch. I'm going to knock this bear out and it's going to be over. And that was him though. He did not, he overestimated his, influence sometimes, but also his just abilities. And, I've always tried to keep that story in mind because it does make you a little bit humble. But at the end of the day, again, he fought a grizzly bear, nonetheless. Wasn't ever supposed to win, but he got in the ring. And my life's been all about getting in the ring.
There's a way just to get him to lay down so you can just lay on top of him and get the pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was, in the story, I explained that there was a trick to it. And it was done by a teenager. And it, which I'm glad you can validate that part of it. Cause he's the one that told me the story. I wasn't there, but I'm glad that you can validate some of those things that, that he said happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an old carny trick. But it's cruel and unusual, not only for the people getting in, but for the bear as well. I mean, so it's thank God they don't do it anymore. It's not something, I mean, there's some wrestling circuits, small wrestling circuits where they still do the bear thing, but it's up in Canada, they do that, but they don't do it very often. Well, I tell you what, Mike, we're getting to the end of our time, but I tell you, I was enthralled with your book. I encourage people to pick this book up because it's one of those books that, again, if you're sitting there thinking, I can't get out of the circumstances I'm in, or I'm in, it doesn't matter what level you're in your circumstances. You think there's no way I can change what I'm in right now. I'm stuck in a rut. I want you to read this book, because this is one of those books that Mike has gone through. He's gone through the ringer. I'll just be honest with you. If you think, and without, I know we didn't get into specifics as to what Mike's been through to get to where he's come, but he has done a complete 180. He's went from complete poverty. Like he said, his grandfather had his last $5, gave it to his family, jumped in his truck with just water and sunflower seeds, and went from Missouri to California to raise money for the family. And tell people where you were living at the time, Michael.
I was living in a pop-up camping trailer, and sort of a makeshift shack. There were cardboard boxes that were available, at businesses and certain things like that. And they tried to rescue all of those ones that they could get before they got to the trash. Cause it was, a pop-up camping trailer, doesn't have any walls, doesn't have it, and no electricity, no running water, nothing. And I mean, when I say nothing, my parents were 17 and 16, both high school dropouts, no jobs, homeless. I mean, literally on a piece of land that my family was able to purchase with the last dollars they had from a failed business. And I say a little piece of land, a very small piece of land out in the middle of the woods, in rural Missouri. And despite all of those things, somehow, I survived. But I think, the message, though, is that realistically, you can be greater than the sum of your parts.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. Presiding over shadows, from chaos to order in the court, is available right now from Wild Blue Press. We have a link in the description of this program. Judge Michael Randazzo is the author of this wonderful book. Mike, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I know that we were all over the place, but that's part of the chaos that's in the book.
That's right. But it was a wonderful discussion. I greatly appreciate it. And I greatly appreciate you as well, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, let's lighten it up a little bit. It's time now for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, I need a co-hostess. And so I have decided, I have made a royal decree that I must reach out to one of my talented team members. Yes, I must find someone who's intelligent, who's witty, who is funny, and who's darn easy on the eyes. Someone who's written not one, not two, not three, but 4 books. Someone who can take the literary prose, see, I'm not one of them, and take that from the page to the oratory skills that they have and bring it to this forum that we call Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals, and be able to take the mush that I throw forward and turn it into quite the scrumptious meal that is the comedic forum that is Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. Ladies and gentlemen, I ramble, but I will stop so that I can introduce the one, the only, Jessica Freeberg. Jess, how you doing?
Good. You ramble? No, not you.
Never. I ramble all the time.
That's what we love about you, though, Tim.
Yes, I'm a rambling man.
You're a rambling man.
I think they wrote that song about me. Yeah. How was the weekend?
It was good. I took my daughter to a chalk festival at the Palmer House. We got to stay at the Palmer House, which is one of our favorite places to stay.
Indeed.
Yeah, but not ghost hunting, just doing art.
Did I nail it? Was that Curious George in a pumpkin?
Yes, he's in a pumpkin costume.
I love it.
He did Curious George for her last festival too, but he was scuba diving. She's really into Curious George right now.
I love it. See, I was a huge Curious George fan. as a kid.
I know, we still are. We still watch it. She's 15 and we still put it on.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the best. He really is the best. So
He's pretty sweet.
he is. Yeah. Did Curious George kill the man in the yellow hat yet? Did he like rip his face off and leave him in a ditch?
I think he might have. They're just not telling us. I mean, we haven't heard from the man in the yellow hat for quite some time, so it's very possible he's no longer with us.
I think so. I think that's one of the great crimes we need to solve here on True Crime Tuesday as to where the hell he went. So
That would be a fun book to write. The mysterious disappearance of the man in the yellow hat.
that's right. Whatever happened to that guy? And then you
He's dead.
You just see Curious George with his hand behind his back and this little impish smile and looking up towards the
And a little blood dripping off his lip.
yeah.
He's a cannibal.
Yeah. See, you never know. It might be an easy case to solve, or it may not be.
Yeah. Well, he's a smart little monkey, so he probably hid the body pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. See, he might have been really curious on the internet too, searching where to hide a man in a yellow hat.
That's the fastest way to get busted, Tim.
Well, it is. Yeah, you're right. Yes. Oh, maybe he had other ways.
Well, maybe she'll do that version of Curious George next time. Bloody blood on his hands.
Searching the internet. Man in yellow. Where to hide man in yellow hat. Yeah, never know. We got a big show here today, Jess, as far as dumb crime, stupid criminals go. A lot of not safe for work. Evidently, we're shedding the sexy summer of 2025 as we get ready for fall. What would it be? The frisky fall then, wouldn't it, of 2020? Yeah.
Frisky fall.
Frisky fall. What is it when we get to winter? I don't know.
I can't think of anything that starts with a W that's naughty.
We're gonna have to look in our thesaurus. Real sexy people look in their thesaurus for stuff like this. Yeah. Is that not a thing? I don't know.
I think people who use those thesaurus and dictionaries are definitely sexy. So
yeah. They kind of keep one right next to the lingerie closet.
Yeah, right on the nightstand.
Yeah, right on the nightstand.
In case you ever want to get intern Yoko in the mood.
Yeah,
she'd like it. I know her. She would like it. She likes a good thesaurus.
Good turn of the word.
Yep. Go in there and find all the different words you can use to call her sexy. She'll be putty in your hands.
Carbuncle? Is that one? I'm not sure.
Works for me. I'm easy though.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. But yeah, thesauruses. Yeah. So we'll go with sexy summer and frisky fall, and that's about as far as we get. I've got time. Winter is.
And a wet willy winter? That's not really sexy.
Wet willy winter. Ew.
A little tongue in your ear.
Yay.
It's foreplay for some people, Tim.
It kind of is, yeah. And other people, it just is kind of, yeah. Yeah, not so much. We probably should get on with these stories.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to show you a picture of a guy. You ever run into this guy at the grocery store? This guy right here?
I don't think I recognize him. Should I know him?
I'm not sure. Does he look like a guy who would park in handicap parking?
Even though he shouldn't, he doesn't look like he needs to.
No, he does not. Definitely. He just has that face, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What if I told you this guy's a circuit judge, circuit county judge, circuit judge.
I can see that. Yeah, he looks a little.
He's a county judge.
Judgish. Yeah, he looks like he's judging me right now through the screen.
Doesn't he? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, we're going to start out locally here. I know we just had a very good discussion with a judge, Judge Randazzo, and we love our judges. This one in Anoka County here in Minnesota, maybe not so much. Here's why. Thankfully, now, there is a hierarchy of judges, and they do justice on their own. They look after their own. and to get rid of the bad apples, so to speak. Well, the Minnesota Supreme Court this past week censured and suspended this Anoka County judge I just showed you the picture of, Jess. Judge John Deehan will be suspended without pay following a dispute over his court reporter salary and conducting court over Zoom from his car. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever gone to court and met their judge over Zoom from his car. I could see maybe during COVID that happening.
Yes.
But not in 2025.
They just have to like project them up on a screen or something.
I can imagine showing up to the courthouse and going to meet with the good Justice Dean, and there he is in his car going, chomping on a breakfast sandwich going, "What do you want?" And then, Your Honor, you were supposed to be here 20 minutes ago and it's time to start court. And here's your first case. And then not having the files in front of him and going, yeah, tell me about the case. What am I looking at? And just not being prepared. And then him having to make some sort of a judgment, right?
But you can't really multitask like that in your car. Like, was he driving? Was he on the interstate? Was he in rush hour? I have so many questions.
I got to think he was, yeah.
Yeah. So you can't like sit there and look at files or even really attend to the conversation really well.
No. Mm-mm. I got to think if he was in Anoka County, he was on his way to the courthouse in Anoka. So, and if you've ever driven in Anoka, traffic's not good.
Is it bad up there?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. Especially inside downtown Anoka. It's one lane traffic and it's Tangletown, right?
Yeah.
The Minnesota Supreme Court censured and suspended an elected Anoka County judge after it was determined that he violated the State Code of Judicial Conduct. District Judge John Deehan was suspended without pay following a dispute over his court reporter salary and conducting court over Zoom from his car. Judge Deehan's conduct in the court reporter compensation dispute severely undermines the public trust in the judicial system, giving the impression that a judge may treat their office as a weapon to be used in professional disputes, the Supreme Court wrote. In part, more specifically, he repeatedly abused his position of authority, wielding his power differential over district court staff and other employees like a cudgel. There's a word. Cudgel.
I don't even know what that word means.
I don't either, but it sounds kind of cute and cuddly. It doesn't sound like I think it's supposed to be a weapon.
It sounds borderline sexual.
It does. Yeah. Ruling over you like a cudgel. All the while disregarding a clear conflict of interest. Someone is going to email us and go, "Don't you fools know what a cudgel is?"
No, we should. I mean, I should know words. I write them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you read them a lot.
I do read them a lot. I should know what it is as well. But, cudgel does sound like the cousin to cottage cheese as well. So, yeah. Good cottage cudgel. I don't know. Yeah. Cudgel. So instead of the cottage cheese, you get the cottage cudgel. Maybe it comes in a gel form. Maybe it's like it's a squeezed cottage cheese, like in a tube. Now I have the Daisy theme going in my head,
And I'm still thinking I turned around, bent over, and he cudgeled me.
Wow. Wow. Hey now.
I'm just saying, it sounds weird. Like some weird move.
What all goes?
I wasn't expecting it. Now the blue.
Now I've got mechanics going through my head. What goes into a cudgel? Maybe that's.
I'm Googling it though. Oh, a short, thick stick used as a weapon. See, mine was way more right.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Well, I don't know that he's bending you over then if he's getting a cudgel in. You know what I mean? It's if it's short and thick.
I never heard that word before.
It's more of a missionary deal. We're not safe for work yet. I shouldn't. Yeah.
I blame myself. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. So all the while they say disregarding a clear conflict of interest was Judge Deehan and twice orchestrating a judicial process that provided the district court administrator no real opportunity to respond. What's all this writing about, you may ask? Well, the court went on to say that Dean showed little, if any, remorse for his actions involving the dispute. So what did he do? Well, they had a little bit more to say. They were pissed. The state Supreme Court was just pissed, Jess. They said, we must fulfill our obligation to ensure that the misconduct is not repeated again and to deter others from similar behavior. The court wrote, in part, under these circumstances, we conclude that a suspension of 9 months is appropriate.
Wow.
They took the judge off the bench for 9 months.
That's a long time. I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. And again, I believe this is a suspension without pay. It's a suspension without pay for 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that'll teach him.
Yeah. The decision comes after a 3-person panel recommended to the state's highest court that Dean, who was first elected to his post in 2010, so he's been on the bench for 15 years, be suspended. The panel also accused Dean of improperly considering the immigration status of a juvenile petitioning for an at-risk guardianship status. However, the Supreme Court said that it did not constitute misconduct. Let's see. Screen is acting a little wonky, so let's see if we can get the rest of the story here. I think there's the rest of the story. There's a lot of ads here.
It's traumatized by all the cudgeling.
Yeah, it is. It said, we said cudgel, and it went cudgel here now in front of everybody. I believe maybe that's the rest of the story. But yeah, so it's too bad there's nothing about the court reporter's salary. I wonder what if he was trying to lower it instead of giving the court reporter what they were asking for.
Interesting.
Yeah. It doesn't say, but yeah. Judge Dean trying to do Zoom from his car on the way in.
Got himself a little vacation.
Boy, did he. Now he can do all the Zooming he wants for 9 months and not get paid for it. So welcome to podcasting, Judge Dean. That's kind of how podcasting works.
Or writing books.
Yeah, or writing books. Yeah, it's the same thing. Well, maybe he can write a book. The guest we had on just wrote a book, so there you go. He can start on writing a book about his career.
There you go.
Called,
You'll get paid eventually, but
yeah, eventually. Yeah, he can write a book called "How I Got Suspended by the Minnesota Supreme Court." It'll be wonderful.
Or just title it Cudgel. I'll pick that up.
Yes, cudgel. Yeah, how I got cudgeled by the Minnesota Supreme Court. See, you learn new words listening to this program.
I feel smarter already.
Yeah, and ways to abuse them. You
dropped my keys, and I'll be damned if you didn't cudgel me.
Wow.
No.
Oh, hey now. So yeah, just put that in some sort of paranormal romance novel. Which, by the way, Travis went off that one time about paranormal romance novels.
Oh my gosh. Did I ever tell you? I think I can tell you because I don't think my neighbor ladies listen to this, but I went to a neighborhood book club, and it was very like the Desperate Housewives. That's what it felt like to me. You know, they're really sweet and fun in there, but they do this every month. They get a book and they read it, and they read my novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so they invited me to come and like talk to them about the book or whatever. And they could not stop. Like, they're like, they love the ghost story, but they really wanted a sex ghost story. Like, they wanted a ghost and a person having sex. And I'm like, how does that work? So they spent like an hour explaining to me how it would work.
Really? They had the details.
Yeah, they were really into it. They're like, we would read that. They want a sexy ghost book.
A sexy ghost book. Did you inform them they are out there?
I mean, I don't know of any, but I assume there is a genre for that.
Oh, just send them to Amazon, because I did that one whole day with I didn't mean to. We didn't mean to start it on Supernatural News, but I sent Travis down a wormhole once on Supernatural News, and I boy, did he lost his shit.
He didn't like him. He's not a
Oh
fan.
no, he loved
He loved him.
he started reading excerpts out of yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the making love to Bigfoot, making love to Chupacabra and the Loch Ness monster and
Chupacabra. He looks all gross and mangy.
yeah, but he's got ears you can hold on to. It's
Bigfoot I can see. He's a hot fella.
he's a hot fella.
He's a big chunk of a man.
But the whole ghost thing brings up,
Yeah.
let's get to not safe for work, and then we'll bring this up again because that's a little rapey.
It was really weird. And I can discuss it more when we get in the not safe for work section. But I'm just like, what is happening with my neighbor ladies? You put a little wine in them and they were like,
yeah.
quite entertaining.
But when we do supernatural news, you hear about that all the time. That there's women that are like, oh yeah, I decided to leave my husband and go marry a ghost.
Yes. I remember a story like that you read to me one time and I was like, that was years ago too. And I was like trying to wrap my brain around like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I think there's a lot of imagination in that too, right?
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could marry a ghost. I mean, I have a great imagination.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hell, you could be a polygamist. You could have a bunch of ghosts there at the house and just tell
have a different ghost for every night of the week if I wanted.
That's right. Just tell hubby, hey, move over, Rover. Let Johnny take over because he's my new ghost. Right. And what would he do?
Nope.
Can't do nothing. It's a ghost.
Nope.
Right?
Ghost.
Yeah. What's a good?
A ghost boyfriend.
Your ghost boyfriend. Exactly. And you can make up a backstory and who's going to be able to check, right? I mean, as long as your backstory's, got everything in order, what's he going to say?
He's going to try to have me committed, Tim. That's what's going to happen.
But if the backstory's in order, Jess, it could be a legitimate ghost.
Although he's used to weird with me, so he'd probably be like, oh, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, it checks. Yeah. Then he's going to probably call in Robert Major and Ghost Remover and try to have him removed, right?
That could be. Maybe we could get a reality show.
Look at that. See? My wife and her ghost husband on A&E.
Feels like a really good Bravo show.
Yeah.
Put me next to the Real Housewives of Orange County. The Real Ghost Wives of Minnesota.
The real ghost husbands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our next story. Okay, so we talk about airplane stories all the time. People getting nuts on airplanes. The things they'll do in order to, divert a flight. This one may be one of the most bizarre things ever. You've heard of people going for the emergency door. You've heard of people doing things in bathrooms. You've heard of people doing things in their seat. Two men on a Ryanair flight from Milan to London diverted a flight to Paris after they began eating and trying to flush their passports midair.
What? Eating their passports?
Yes.
Why?
Because they're delicious? I don't know.
You're going to need that later.
Well, you would think. I don't know why you begin eating your passports other than maybe the mushrooms were really great before you left. I don't know. But the passengers on this flight just were terrified. Ryanair is the go-to airline for many people in Ireland, where the Vikings just coughed one up this past weekend. Speaking of coughing up your passport and coughing up other things. Whether it's a weekend break in Europe, a family sun holiday, or just hopping across the pond to London, most of the time flights are quick, cheap, and hassle-free. But while the majority of journeys go off without a hitch, every so often something happens that makes you realize just how unpredictable air travel can be. That was the case on a recent Ryanair flight where passengers were left stunned after two people allegedly began eating their passports midair leaving those on board terrified as the crew scrambled to deal with the bizarre incident. The passenger on the flight told the Daily Star that it was the scariest 15 minutes of my life on what was meant to be a routine journey back to London following a European holiday. The traveler, who wishes to remain anonymous, I bet they do, said that they had been flying from Milan to London, Stansted, after spending time with friends, completely unaware that the trip would become memorable for all the wrong reasons. They recalled, essentially, the flight took off, and 15 to 20 minutes into the flight, once the seatbelt sign was off, something very strange happened at the front of the plane. Staff were notified and went to see what was going on at the front of the plane. Suddenly, the whole mood changed. No one on board knew what was going on. These people were acting weird. Confused passengers watched on as one of the men allegedly began ripping pages from his passport and eating them. Maybe they tasted like cherry. Maybe they make them in flavored pages now. I have no idea. They then began to freak out as his companion headed for the back of the plane, apparently trying to flush his own passport down the toilet at the same time.
What a strange string of events.
The drugs were good, Jess. I mean,
Scary. I don't know if it's scary, but it's definitely weird.
yeah. An air hostess then banged on the door, pleading with the man to come out, but he refused. The source added, this led to even more tension. The air hostess then made a public announcement that was so blunt and to the point that it freaked people out to another level. No one knew what was going on at that point. With the situation spiraling, the captain made the decision to divert the flight to Paris. The source described the descent as the most terrifying 15 minutes of my life. That's a quick landing, like a, yeah, all the way down. Once safely on the ground, French police boarded the aircraft and arrested the two men. The passenger claimed the delay lasted around 2 hours and involved a full bag search before the plane was cleared to continue its journey to London. Despite the ordeal, the passenger praised the Ryanair crew for keeping calm under pressure. They said, I think Ryanair were brilliant in handling it a certain way. They gave out drinks towards the end of the flight as we were coming in over Stansted. It was really stressful, but Ryanair handled it amazingly. I'm just really effing glad I landed, was the quote from one passenger.
Oh my gosh. So is it a crime to eat your passport?
I think it's more causing the diversion on the flight.
Right.
I don't think it's a crime to eat your own passport. Or maybe it is. Maybe you can't destroy documents. Maybe destroying the document is a crime.
It could be, because I mean, it's a government issued document.
Yeah. I don't know. But causing a disturbance on a flight, maybe it is.
Yeah, that's the big thing right there.
Yeah.
I feel like if he was sitting next to me, I'd look over and see me eat his passport and be like, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have at it.
Each their own.
I thought snacks were coming around soon, but hey, if your passport is what gets you, hey, have a little.
I'm just going to wait for the cheese tray.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I always wait for the crisps and the cookies, but hey, you know, you can do you, buddy. You know.
Oh, weird.
I don't know how you're getting to the next country, but it's up to you. Yeah, it is what it is. Someone who is a little more willing to help in a situation where you need a bit of a refreshment, especially if you're, in middle school, is in trouble. Thanks to Ryan for this story. He's got the next couple of stories. By the way, he also pointed out to me that Kansas gets weird this time of year because of the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs and K-State is losing. Their football teams are losing. So they're
losing their minds.
Yeah, they tend to go a little nuts this time of year. A Salina teacher has admitted to providing alcohol to a former student, and that might not be all. In an affidavit obtained by 12 News, a Salina middle school teacher admitted to providing alcohol to a 16-year-old former student. The relationship between Salina South Middle School teacher Amanda Freeman and the former student was discovered by the student's mom, who found text messages between the two on the student's phone. The student's name was redacted in the affidavit to protect the student, of course. According to the affidavit, the mother believed that the student and Freeman might have had sexual contact, but Freeman is not charged with any sex-related offenses.
Ick.
Yeah. The affidavit said that the mother's belief is not evidence that sexual contact happened. So no charges. Just the
mother knows, Tim. A mother knows.
Mother knows, huh? Freeman was arrested earlier this month for felony contributing to child's misconduct, aggravated endangerment of a child, distribution of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, unlawful social hosting. I didn't know that was a charge, but it is. So you might want to look into your book club, by the way.
Sure they broke the rules.
I'm sure sometime. Furnishing alcohol to a minor was also in there. According to the affidavit dated September 9th, the student told the police that he and Freeman had been in contact since 2023. Yikes. Freeman initially told police she communicated with several students outside of school and drank in their presence, but did not provide them alcohol. She later changed her statements to say that the students were drinking and that she did provide alcohol to students. Freeman also said that she asked students to get marijuana for her because, it's a little give and take there.
Wow. She sounds like a real gem.
She is. She told police about an incident in which she asked the student's girlfriend where to get marijuana, and the three of them drove to that person's house. Freeman told police that she shouldn't have been driving because she was very intoxicated, according to the affidavit. At least she knows that much, right? I probably don't know well enough to, not ask the student where to get some pot, but I know well enough that I shouldn't be driving when I'm intoxicated. So
He only wants to break a couple laws at a time, not all of them at once, just to pace herself.
Yeah, there's a fine line, and I know how to straddle it. That's what she told police. Not good. I mean, literally straddle it because the one mom suspects her of straddling her son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's that. Also in Wichita, this one sent to me as well from Ryan, a Wichita man shot his cousin during a dispute over a dog defecating indoors.
Whoa.
Yeah. We talk about extreme behaviors. There's extreme snowboarding and extreme, shooting your cousin because the dog can't control his potty habits. They're all Olympic sports, I guess. I don't know. Again, we're in Wichita, Kansas. Evidently that's the new Florida of the West or Midwest.
I was going to say, I feel like we'd be further south than that.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't seem south enough.
It doesn't seem south enough. You're right, Jess. A Wichita man shot his cousin in the stomach after an argument about one of the men's dogs defecating indoors. This, according to a newly released court affidavit. On the evening of September 7th, officers responded to the 1200 block of North Grove in Wichita to the report of a shooting. Officers found a 25-year-old man inside a vehicle in a driveway with a gunshot wound to his midsection. A fight about the victim's dog, same thing. Both of them, led to the shooting, according to newly obtained redacted affidavit. The document says that on the evening of the shooting, 27-year-old Jordan Jones confronted his cousin, 25-year-old Tresal Jones, about Tresal's dog urinating and defecating in Jordan's bedroom. Inside the home, the affidavit says Tresal began to clean up after his dog as Jordan stood by the entertainment center waving a gun around. Because that's what most of us do on a Sunday afternoon. We just wave our gun around the entertainment center.
That's what I do.
Yeah, watching the housewives of Ghost Lane, right? Just waving a gun around, talking about how you could write a book about ghost sex.
Oh my.
Tresal said Jordan was intoxicated, no doubt, and he complained about the dogs. He said Jordan lowered the gun and pointed it at the floor and then fired it into the floor. Just to get the dog to behave.
Well, he should have just left it at that.
You would think. To prevent Jordan from shooting again, Tresal had the great idea of lunging towards the gun.
Oh, no.
This is where we get into trouble. And as he grabbed the gun, Jordan fired the gun twice, shooting him. This is where Tresal failed.
Oh.
This is where good moments go bad, Jess. Trussell then fell, and Jordan grabbed his clothes and left the scene running to the south. Because evidently he wasn't man enough to stay around and say, oopsie, I made a mistake.
And he didn't think he was far enough south for this behavior either.
No.
I'm running south.
I'm running south. I need to go to Florida where they accept this sort of stuff as stand ground. When police located Jordan and took him into custody, he told officers it was really self-defense.
I'm not sure about that.
No. You already put one in the floor. Was the floor attacking you? We must ask that question. During an interview with police, Jordan told officers that he and his cousin Trussell live in the same home, and Trussell's dog urinated and defecated in Jordan's bedroom, which made him upset. This led to a... Just tell Trussell to clean it up.
I'm mad, though. I got to get my gun. I'm mad.
This led to a fight between the two cousins. Jordan told police, saying afterwards that he went inside and grabbed his .38 special revolver. That's Mr. Saturday Night Special.
Yeah, that's a gun.
Yeah. You know what Leonard Skinner said about that? It ain't good for nothing. Except to put a man 6 feet in the hole.
Except to put a bullet in your cousin's stomach.
That's right. Jordan was charged with 38 I got the song lyrics in my head. Jordan was charged with aggravated battery and criminal possession of a weapon by a felon on September 8th. Kansas Department of Corrections records show he has prior convictions of aggravated domestic battery and criminal threat. He's due back in court on November 6th for a preliminary hearing. Good luck, Jordan. That's all I got to say. I don't think they're going to be very open to anything you have to say.
No, I think you're in trouble.
They're going to say, first of all, anger management. Second, probably never going to own a dog ever again. I think that's probably out of the,
Paper towels and a little pet spray.
That's right.
Right up.
Yeah. What's the name of that stuff you get on TV? You can buy it at Walmart. It's, it sounds like poo or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Poof.
Poof. That's it. A lifetime supply of poof. They'll give you some of that.
I got some.
Yeah. See?
Yep.
You just need a little bit of that.
Little poof. No big deal.
No big deal. It's all gone. Right? Not a big deal. See, you need to relax, Jordan. Maybe Xanax is your friend, right? Maybe lock the gun in a gun safe somewhere. Maybe give Trussell the combination so you can't get to it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe think about meditation and Xanax and
get yourself a little cup of tea.
Oh, there you go. Little Earl Grey, huh?
Yeah. Or chamomile of some kind. Something just calming.
Yeah. Yeah. Start, thinking about things that make you relax. Cloud shapes. That's a good thing. Think about cloud shapes. Right? I'm
going to try that next time I'm mad.
Maybe start singing Jesus Loves Me. That's a good thing, Things that'll calm you down. That'd be nice. All right, it's time now for us, believe it or not, to get to Not Safe for Work. It's that kind of week.
We're already there. Well, we kind of already got there.
We were escaping out of sexy summer into the freaky, frisky fall of 2025. People are acting up, Jess, so we got a report on it.
Well, let me hear it.
All right, we go to Pittsburgh, where the line is, "What are you doing in my daughter's bedroom?"
Ooh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh mom fired shots after finding a man in her home. This man right here. I'll show you a picture of him. He's got his name under his picture because he always travels with ID. His name is Miguel Meza.
He's busted.
And he's busted after being found in this particular girl's bedroom.
He looks a little old to be in a girl's bedroom that lives with her mom.
He's 23.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh police said a mother in the city's East Hills neighborhood found a man passed out on the floor of her daughter's room with his pants down.
What?
Yeah. Not exactly where most people find themselves at the end of a bender.
I would definitely be getting my gun as well. Good choice, Mom.
Yeah. Good call, Mom. It's either that or a knife out of the block, one or the other, and you're lucky she picked the gun because you could have been a bobbit.
Mm-hmm.
Police said they were called to the 500 block of Haverhill Street at about 4:30 a.m. Sunday, according to the criminal complaint filed against 23-year-old Miguel Meza of,
Florida.
yes, Miami, Florida, Jess.
Ah,
The mother reported finding Meza in the room with his breath smelling of alcohol. There's a shock. Police said she woke him up and he ran out and sat on her porch as she kicked him in the back and screamed, "What are you doing in my daughter's bedroom?" Yep. Police said the mother fired 2 shots in the air from a handgun, and 4 other men grabbed the suspect and took him to a home next door.
was he still pantless?
I would think
I'm just envisioning the scene.
if I'm Miguel and 4 other men go to grab me quickly, the first thing that's coming up is my pants. And then
Yeah.
I'm running like hell, right?
Oh my.
I'm trying to show them that, first of all, I always had pants on. Always had pants on.
Nothing to see here.
Yep, pants never came down. Second, I have no idea why I'm in your house. Teleported. I think aliens put me here because I did not walk in on my own free will. I have no idea why I'm in your house. Right? Aliens dropped me off.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens. Yeah. It's just a natural thing. Aliens just drop you off at the wrong house. And I just happen to be a victim of that. According to the criminal complaint, police went to the home next door and said that initially no one would come out. Shock of all shocks. But eventually the door was open and police arrested Meza after finding him hiding in a closet under the covers.
He's in a closet under covers?
Probably hiding from the men trying to take him apart limb from limb.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was taken to the Allegheny County Jail. As of Sunday afternoon, Meza has not yet been arraigned. I suppose they're trying to figure out what to arraign him on if he hasn't assaulted the daughter.
Yeah. The girl was in there just sleeping and he was just passed out on her floor with no pants on.
I guess.
That's messed up.
There'd be a public nudity charge, right? And a trespassing charge, you would think.
Yeah, for sure.
But then after that, what is there? If anything, you might be able to get the 4 men who drug him next door with an assault charge. If they
How did he get in there? Don't they lock their doors?
Maybe they didn't.
Boy.
Yeah. Breaking and entering, that's another charge.
Yeah, that'd be another charge.
Breaking and entering, trespassing, and public nudity. Who knows? All right, this next story, Jess, is going to... By the way, our palate cleanser today, wieners, nothing but wieners.
Great. You better be talking about hot dogs.
You'll see. You'll see what I'm talking about. An NYPD detective with a history of misconduct is busted for flashing a firearm at a Long Island stripper and saying, "Have you ever been shot?"
What? That's not how you woo a girl.
No. I take it that's not how you tip a stripper.
No.
Right? Yeah, no.
Not how you get a free lap dance.
No, it's definitely not. If there's no champagne in the champagne room, there's definitely not shots either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This wasn't the way to disarm her. See what they did there?
Clever.
An NYPD detective was arrested after he allegedly flashed his gun to threaten a stripper outside a Long Island jiggle joint, asking her, "Have you ever been shot?" Ryan Olson was caught on camera lifting his shirt and showing a gun tucked into his waistband to a dancer outside the Carousel Lounge in Huntington Station on September 19th. The 37-year-old Olson, who lives nearby, approached the 23-year-old stripper as she was smoking a blunt on her car outside the club around 3 a.m.
Minding her business.
Yeah. Just having a quick hit. This, by the way, is the shooter in question right here.
All right. He looks like an upstanding individual. He's got his uniform on. He's holding some sort of an award.
It kind of looks like a dingus. Uh, he kind of looks like he enjoys pissing in your Cheerios for a living, doesn't he?
Yeah, one of those guys.
Yeah. He asked said dancer, who was on the hood of her car, smoking a blunt, "Do you know when Bambi's coming out?" He then asked her to text Bambi to come out. Somebody's obsessed with Bambi. And we're not talking the
guess.
Disney movie either.
No.
No.
Bambi and Thumper and
Yeah.
whole cast in there.
Yeah, well, they may be. And they may be on stage in 5 minutes,
Mhm.
No, calling to the stage, Thumper. Remember, if you thumper, you got a tipper, ladies and gentlemen. Thumper and tipper.
Oh, do you remember back when you could make crank calls without anyone knowing who you were?
Yes.
This does remind me of a time when my friends and I, we must have been like freshmen in high school, called this house full of boys, and we were all like just being silly. And I said my name was Thumper because I like to thump. They said it kind of sexy.
Oh, and they were like, yeah, tell me about it. Tell me
They're
about
like, oh, whoa.
it. Oh,
And then we hung up.
You got them all excited, all hot and bothered. And then,
Yeah. Oh, you miss those days when you can crank call people.
yeah, it was fun.
Can't get away with anything anymore.
Oh, there are ways. I'll tell you about it after the show.
So he wanted Bambi.
He wanted Bambi, and he asked the stripper to text Bambi to come out, but the unnamed woman refused to help. And she and New York's finest began to squabble in the parking lot, according to sources. Olson, a cop in the NYPD's warrant section, which tracks down wanted criminals, then pulled up his shirt so she could see his gun and asked, "Have you ever been shot?" Classy. The dancer told Suffolk County cops. The woman then started screaming, "Get the fuck away, get the fuck away." And called her boss inside the club for help as she began driving away, the sources said. Oh, so she jumped in the vehicle, drove, and then called her boss and said, "Hey, you got a creep in the parking lot."
Yeah, that's scary.
The one thing that you never want to do, cop or not, especially if you're off duty, is mess with a strip club boss.
No, I wouldn't think so. That's a bad choice.
They don't care. And sometimes they're connected.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What's the old saying, Jess? Fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
The detective at first tried to calm her down, but then got in his car and drove away, sources said. The nightclub already had the gumshoe's name because he had to provide his driver's license to get in earlier in the evening.
It was so dumb.
Yeah. The Suffolk County Police Department investigated and allegedly found surveillance video showing Olson pulling up his shirt and flashing his firearm. A manager at the club refused to comment on the incident. On Thursday afternoon, 6 strippers glumly sat at the U-shaped bar inside the dimly lit space already decorated for Halloween with paper skeletons, pumpkins, and orange and black balloons. Already?
It's time.
I guess. But I mean, it's kind of early for the strip club to be, celebrating Halloween. I suppose it's a great theme for dancing.
You know it.
Yeah.
Come on over to the dark side, they say.
They kind of do all year round, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. The women refused to speak to a reporter who was there. Olson is a 2010 graduate of John Jay College of Criminal Justice, the John J. Jingleheimer Schmidt College.
I know. I was just thinking that.
My diploma is your diploma too. Who made $257,000 last year. He's well paid.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe he should stay out of the strip clubs.
I mean, or just be nice. So
Yeah.
give him some tips. You have the money.
Yeah.
Don't give him a hard time.
No.
They're already having a hard knock life, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what? 3/4 of them are in school. I mean, give them a break.
Yeah. Just trying to pay their bills.
That was a joke. Just 3/4 of them are in school.
They're not college students.
Fine.
I don't know. I don't know strippers.
Olson pleaded not guilty to a charge of menacing with a gun at his arraignment, according to court records. Detective Olson is a respected 15-year member of the New York City Police Department. Olson's lawyer, Peter Brill, said as he tried not to burn in hell for that statement, he's innocent until proven guilty. Aren't we all?
I think he's pretty guilty.
Yeah. The NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau investigates when a police officer is arrested. Olson could be fired as a result of the charges. Olson has had 23 misconduct allegations filed against him.
So he's just a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 of them substantiated, with most recent being in 2023, according to online disciplinary records. The most recent allegations were for abuse of authority, for improper use of a body-worn camera in 2023, and for a vehicle search in 2021, and were substantiated by the independent watchdog Civilian Complaint Review Board. He received formal training and appears to have lost vacation days as a result. So yeah,
What did he do with the body-worn camera? I'm intrigued by that.
And I kind of am too.
Improper use.
Yeah. My guess is maybe he tried to hit on somebody while he was pulling them over. He thinks he's a deviant.
I think so too.
Yeah. So, you know, he's getting his. I mean,
Throw the book at him.
Not at the strip club, he's not, but he's getting his.
No.
I think he's about to lose his $257,000 a year job.
I know. What a bummer. He should have just not been a dinkus.
Right. Yeah, it is what it is.
I'll take his job. I always kind of wanted to be a police detective of some sort. I think I would be good at it.
I think you would too. Yeah. I'm going to show you a picture here, Jess, of this lady right here. She's brandishing a deadly weapon.
Oh, can I see it?
Can you see it? I'm going to have you guess. I'm going to give you 3 guesses as to what the deadly weapon is.
I mean, can she kill people with her boobs?
That may be one. That's your first.
Like suffocate them in the leave-ins? I don't know. I don't see a deadly weapon.
Kill them with their boobs. I said her spiky hair, but it would have been one. Want to take one more guess? Think unconventional.
An unconventional way to kill someone?
Yeah.
Can she wrap her legs around their neck and choke them out?
She probably could, but that's not
with their thighs.
Yeah, that's a great way to go. If I had to choose one, yeah, I'd take that in a minute. But
that's all I can come up with. I don't know. She was scantily clad. I don't know how she killed anyone.
But nope, that's not it. Of course, we're going to Florida for this, Jess, where a Florida woman has been arrested for an alleged silly string attack.
It's not a deadly weapon, Tim.
It is in this case.
Huh.
Investigators say that the colorful battery occurred Thursday evening at the OCC Roadhouse Bar in Clearwater. The defendant in this case, or as detailed in the arrest affidavit, 48-year-old Crystal Watts confronted the victim and began spraying him with silly string until the can was empty. She then allegedly threw the can at the victim, 33-year-old Jesse Hammock.
What a strange thing to do.
Yeah. You know,
as an adult,
you can suffocate someone with silly string.
I mean, that's what a child would do to another child. Like,
yeah,
what an odd way to behave when you're not 10.
Well, maybe mentally she is 10 years old. Yeah. The silly string struck Hammock in the forehead, causing a laceration.
Oh, the can's the deadly weapon?
Maybe. The affidavit does not identify a motive for the 9 p.m. fusillade or whether the accused assailant and Hammock, a masonry contractor, were acquaintances. I guess for a little bit of money they were.
It was just a random silly string attack. It happens, Tim.
Randomly people hit each other with silly string. Watts was arrested for battery. She spent a night in custody before being freed Friday on $1,000 bond. The phone number listed for the defendant in court records turns up an escort service website that includes a variety of explicit photos of Watts, who is identified as Taylor.
Ah.
Yes. A recent post notes that Taylor is back in the saddle and ready to ride. The online ad describes services provided and lists the escort's age, 48, and location is Clearwater, Tampa, and St. Petersburg. So, how she lives in two cities at one time, I have no idea. Maybe she walks a silly string back and forth. I have no idea.
Yeah, she has her main trailer and her vacation trailer. That's what it is.
Oh, I see what you did there. Vacation trailer. That's a good one, Jess. Vacation trailer. This next story is a little bit of a tragic story. A surgeon has been suspended for giving a girlfriend's daughter, who was only 14 years old, a secret boob job in liposuction that ended up killing her.
What?
Yeah, I'm going to show you a picture of this girl. You're gonna see her and go, I can't believe that a doctor would look at this girl and think, I think this is her. Okay, this is the teen's mother. I saw a picture of the actual girl here. This is the actual girl right here, Jess. Would you look at this girl right here and think, I'm going to give this girl a boob job?
Oh, she looks 12. She doesn't look 14.
She does not look 14 at all.
And her body isn't even done growing. Who knows that she even needs boobs?
Yeah. She's just a little shaver, just a little muffin.
Yeah, she's just a peanut.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
It's incredibly creepy. Let me tell you about this story here, because the story is alarming. The mother, I'm going to show you a picture of the mother along with Victor Manuel Rosales Galindo, who's being investigated for alleged malpractice. He's the boyfriend of Paloma's mother, who's Paloma Escobedo Quinones. And here's a picture of the two of them together right here.
Okay.
Well, the mother kind of looks like a model, which...
I mean, she looks like she's had work done.
Yes, she does.
Like her nose doesn't look natural. Her lips look a little larger than normal.
Yep. So it looks like probably the doctor boyfriend's been working on the girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
did she authorize him to do that to her daughter?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Why would she do that to that baby?
Yeah. Here's another picture of her right here. Now this picture is sad because you can tell.
She's so cute.
Yeah, she's just a baby.
And she's holding a stuffed bear.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this story, Tim.
I'm sorry. We'll get to lighter figure in a second, but it's kind of a tragic story. The story goes like this. A plastic surgeon has been suspended from practicing in Mexico after allegedly giving his 14-year-old stepdaughter cosmetic surgery days after she died. Victor Manuel Rosales Galindo has been investigated for allegedly malpractice after his girlfriend's daughter, Paloma Nicole Arellano Escobedo, underwent a boob job, BBL and liposuction, according to Mexican media. Paloma's father claims his ex-wife, Paloma Escobedo Quinones, gave the teenager the secret procedures as a gift ahead of her 15th birthday on September 12th.
Mom, what the heck? And a Brazilian butt lift? She got boobs and a Brazilian butt lift, and you said liposuction?
Yeah.
She doesn't even need that.
I don't know where the fat comes off.
They're so fat. She's just tiny.
She is. She's a tiny little thing. Carlos Arellano said he was never told about the plastic surgery and only realized Paloma had undergone the procedures when he saw her body at her funeral in Durango.
Aww.
At the funeral, some relatives told me her breasts were larger than what she had before. When I mentioned it to her mother, she told me it wasn't true, that she didn't know anything. Arellano told officials. That night, I asked her mother to leave the room so I could talk to the girl to say my goodbyes. For some reason, she didn't want to. I managed to convince her and her entire family to leave, and they did. My sister, my sister-in-law, my mother, and I stayed inside. They examined my daughter, and sure enough, she had breast implants. We have photographs of the implants and the scars. We immediately requested an autopsy. The grieving father told Mexican media that he received a call from Escobedo Quiñones a day before his daughter's death, claiming she was ill with COVID-19. But it was the plastic surgery, Arellano claims, that caused a series of deadly medical problems that killed Paloma. In the week before the surgery, Paloma experienced cardiorespiratory arrest and severe brain swelling. She was put in an induced coma and connected to a ventilator, according to Arizona Central. Paloma's official cause of death was listed as cerebral edema resulting from a respiratory illness, but her father claimed she died as a result of surgery. Arellano has demanded justice for Paloma and an investigation into what he calls a cover-up for the real circumstances of her death. He wrote on Facebook, my daughter Paloma Nicole Arellano Escobedo, just 14 years old, died as a victim of an act of criminal negligence at a clinic on Phoenix Street. On her death certificate, falsely put illness as the cause of death, trying to cover up the truth. The complaint has already been filed with the Durango prosecutor's office. I demand that all responsible be investigated: the doctor, the mother, the hospital, their administrators, and those who participated in this cover-up. Escobedo Quiñones worked as a nurse at her boyfriend Rosales Galindo's office, according to Mexican news outlets. Paloma's death has sparked widespread outrage, including from Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Send us this case and we will gladly reach out to the family and see how we can help, Sheinbaum said this week, which is good. I mean, it's good that the Mexican president said, send us the case and we'll get it done.
Yeah, for sure.
The Durango prosecutor's office is now looking into the case, and the Daily Mail reached out to Arellano for comment. So it's good that something's getting done about it. That's for sure. That's the happy part of this. Is that action?
Sad story, though.
Swift actions being taken on this. That's for sure. All right. Let's get into a little bit more of the funny here. You ready?
Yes. Make me laugh.
Wow.
Do it now.
If I were going to do that, I'd drop my pants. All right. Speaking of dropping my pants or dropping somebody's pants, let me introduce you, Jess. Not to that, but to the Bucks County Pisser.
I'm ready.
Which is a real thing.
Yeah. He's just out there peeing on everything.
Well, we're going to the Levittown area, which has been targeted by a viral urination trend with a stream of followers.
Oh, no. So a lot of people are doing it.
Well, here's the story, and it's a pisser, literally. The region may have its own Bucks County Banksy, only the artist prefers bathrooms without walls and canvases made of sidewalk. Some graffiti artists leave paint, others leave chalk. This Instagram imp, well, they may just be leaving pee.
Oh, so he's like creating art with his pee stream.
Yeah.
Nice.
In an odd trend of performance art and master piss theater, one anonymous user going by the name of Bucks County Pisser, that's what they've named themselves, is either spewing water bottles for show or live streaming their bladder control or lack thereof on social media video posts. With 7 posts between September 6th and September 23rd, the self-proclaimed Bucks County Pisser has flushed out 6,452 followers as of the time of publication of this article. The Bucks County Pisser and similar social media accounts show a person appearing to urinate or imitate doing so in the overnight hours outside recognizable locations, including the Mercer Museum in Doylestown Borough, Conwell Egan Catholic High School in Bristol Township, Pennsbury High School in Falls Township, Council Rock High School in Newton Township, and Neshaminy High School in Middletown Township. Nearly every video uses a snippet of the theme from the Showtime series Dexter, along with a quote from the show from actor Michael C. Hall as the protagonist serial killer, which says, "Tonight's the night and it's going to happen again and again."
Oh, man.
The quote from Bucks County District Attorney's Office Director of Communications, Manuel Gamiz Jr. says, "We are aware of the reported social media trend of urinating or pretending to urinate in public, but we are not aware of any investigations by police." So they don't think that they're looking into it. Police in Newtown Township and several other municipalities said they were aware of the videos, while several others said they are not aware or had any details to provide. Local school districts were also aware of the videos, sources said. One police official who was not authorized to speak on the incidents said the videos appear to be pranks, and it is not even clear if the liquid in the video is urine. While videos were posted by one or more people in recent weeks, it is unclear when the videos were recorded. So the question here is, this micro-urician, which is a word again, Maven, is not number one. It hasn't become number one anywhere. Wannabe whizzers have been reported at Penn State's main campus now, armed with a full bladder and a cell phone, and also at Temple University. So it's gone to the college level now, Jess.
Why are we doing this?
Evidently, there's nothing to do in Pennsylvania.
It's so gross.
According to the article, the viral Penn State posts have been viewed nearly 500,000 times.
And why are we watching this?
It is believed the Penn State Pissers ID has been leaked. Get it? As there have been no posts since September 8th, according to the newspaper. In the report, Penn State Police spokeswoman Jackie Sheeter, dangerously close to something else, said the department is aware of the individual and the social media page, and the situation is being investigated by the department. Two accounts, the Temple Gooner and Temple Pisser, have been tagged in videos on the TikTok account. As of Wednesday, Temple Pisser has 2,441 followers and 52,600 likes.
We need to stop encouraging this. Oh, it's ridiculous.
One sole video has more than 280,200 views on TikTok.
That is so dumb. My kids are probably watching it, though, if I'm being honest.
I figured out a promotional vehicle for this show.
We're just going to go around and pee on things.
Got to start pissing on stuff, Jess, and name it the Darkness Dink.
Oh, I'm in. Whatever it takes to promote the show, Tim.
If we can get 1 million views of us just pissing on stuff, I think it'd be wonderful.
I need one of those things, though, where I can like pee like a boy standing up. You know, they make those little contraptions.
Wizinator.
Yeah, that's what I need.
We'll get
Then
you.
I'm in. You get me that for my birthday, and we'll go around
I'll get you.
whizzing.
Yep.
Okay.
And you know what? We can even make a children's book, Jess and the Wizinator. It'll be a story about why you shouldn't go out and get fake likes on your profile. Jess the Wizinator and the Darkness Stink. And that'll be the name of the yeah.
It'll be a good book. I'm going to be a New York Times bestseller now.
I think so. See how that works? Let me just tell you that the TikTok trickster Bucks County mailbox pisser is the number 2 to Bucks County's number 1 whiz. One video alone, 4 million views.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
That's why I'm thinking Darkness Stink is going to take off.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely would. I wouldn't feel good about it, but I'll do it.
See, that's why I love you. You're in for a penny, in for a pound. Right.
Hey, you got to promote the show, Tim. I'm here for that.
At first you were like, feet pics. All right, I got hairy toes, but hey, let's do it. Now it's like, hey,
Get me a Wizinator. We're going on the road.
temple pisser, and you're like, hey, get me a Whizzinator and let's go. Right? Let's do the
But can we
darkness.
go places where it's cold and let's do it in the winter so we can pee in the snow? Because
Right.
that's always been my dream.
That's the only way to do it, because you've got to put a message, darknessradioshow.com, in the snow. So people,
A lot of letters.
well, it's a Whizzinator. You can put fluid in the Whizzinator, and you can, it doesn't have
I
to
was
be
gonna say we're just gonna have to drink a lot of beer. We're gonna have a keg in the car while we go.
right.
Well, we won't drive. We'll have Mally
No.
drive. We'll
Right,
just
right,
drink the
Mally.
beer
Right.
and then we'll whiz.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we got it under control.
We have a plan.
Yeah, there's a plan. And then meanwhile, they'll be like, the cops will call us and be like, do you have any idea who? Nope. We think it's our competitors trying to frame us.
But definitely don't listen back to that episode where we talked about doing
Yeah.
this.
No, don't listen to that one. Because that wasn't us. We were just joking. Right.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, say no more.
Uh,
Right, we're getting towards the end of the program here. And our palate cleanser, which, by the way, is wieners, wieners, and more wieners. Just a reminder. All right. I think this is our final story here for today. Yes, it is. Our final story for today. Polygamous or polygamous, however you read it. A woman is busted in a thruple tussle.
thruple.
Thruple. I always found that a fascinating word, thruple.
Were they cudgeling?
Yes, they were cudgeling. Wow, that kind of fits.
A thruple, tussle, cudgeling.
First of all, I'm going to show you a picture of three people who should never thruple. Right here.
Oh,
These three stuck in anywhere I don't think I want to see.
you're not going to buy that movie?
No. I'm not buying that movie, that book, that periodical, nothing. That tape. No.
There's our thruple.
Because if you were to throw him a bucket of Crisco and a Hope, I would not watch it. Bucket of Crisco, a Hope, and a Prayer, I would not. No. Not even Bravo would buy that pilot. Just
No,
saying, no,
not even Bravo.
no, not even Bravo. After 3 becomes 2, domestic disturbance ensues in this case. Now, I might watch him slug it out,
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch it.
but they'd have to put clothes on first. I'm just saying. The contentious demise of a throuple resulted in the arrest of the female member of the polygamous trio, according to a police report. Jess, by showing you that picture, where do you think we're going?
Well, are we going back to Florida?
Yes, we are. Responding to a 10 p.m. domestic disturbance call, police in Summerfield, Florida, encountered 26-year-old Devin Driscoll, who advised that she wanted her ex-boyfriend and ex-girlfriend to get kicked out of the house. That's a steady, stalwart response to whatever's going on there. The residence is a double-wide mobile home. Way to call it, Jess, by the way. That was
Hey,
purchased.
there's nothing wrong with that. I lived in a couple in my lifetime.
That's But the fact that you nailed it in the previous story was...
There's just a lot of trailer parks in Florida,
There are.
generally speaking.
There's a lot of nice homes too, but
Yeah, there's quite a lot of trailers.
Yeah.
It's affordable living.
it is affordable living, yes. Not really advisable in a state that has a lot of hurricanes, but...
No, I know. Well, I lived in, and then when I was in Iowa, and every time it stormed, I thought, we're going to blow away. I'm going to die.
It's going to be the Wizard of Oz all over again.
Yeah. Only less, less Dorothy-ish, more the trailer park kids blowing through the breeze.
The residence is a double-wide mobile home that was purchased by Driscoll's mother in 2023. Are you fucking kidding me? You want to know how much she paid for a double-wide mobile home in Summerfield, Florida?
Was it a lot?
Mhm.
It has to be less than 100,000. No, are you serious? That's not affordable living. They should move to the Midwest and get themselves a nice house.
That's right. You could probably, for what they paid for this mobile home, you could probably get a cheap Rambler.
Huh.
$172,500.
What?
Yeah.
Back in my hometown, they could get a really nice house for that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's what you pay to live in Florida?
That's what they paid to live in Summerfield, Florida.
Huh.
Now, I'll show you a picture of said home here in a second here, Jess. Actually, I'll show it to you now.
Okay.
It looks like it could be a decent double wide.
It's actually very nice. Yeah, it looks clean. The siding's nice. It's very white. Has a little front porch thing.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
It's nice. I don't know that it's $172,500 nice.
I mean, that seems like a lot, even though it's a double. I mean, I would have given something for a double wide as a kid. We didn't have a double wide, and I thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that nice. It's Driscoll police reported, explained that she was in a polygamous relationship with the two, but has since broken up and wants them out. Driscoll's former partners were 25-year-old Anicia Bolivar and 27-year-old Christopher Rosario. Bolivar and Rosario have a daughter in common. Wait, they have a daughter in common. So they don't share a daughter. They have a daughter in common.
I think that's a funny way of saying that they have a kid together.
Okay. Let's hope. Could be they just picked one up on a street corner and that's the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sad to know there's a child in this throuple.
Throuple.
Oh, goodness.
Well,
throuple.
They'd be a couple, but yeah, there's a child in the throuple. Yes.
I forgot my age.
That's all right.
My throuple.
I forgot my age too. I should have shot up with heroin before reading this.
Kidding.
As for the two becoming the three, well, it's unclear when Driscoll got involved with Bolivar and Rosario, each of whom is pictured in this article, unfortunately, and hurt my eyes. During the disturbance late Tuesday, Driscoll allegedly struck Bolivar in the head while on the home's front porch, which Jess described to you. Very tiny, but it's quite picturesque.
There's not a lot of room for tussling out there.
No. It's probably two people standing on it and one hitting the other.
Pretty small.
Not a lot of room to move. Bolivar said she pushed back in self-defense, which caused Driscoll to fall down a couple of steps, literally a couple of steps.
Yeah. Yep.
There are there are about 3 steps on the front porch. She fell down a couple of them. Yeah. So maybe 2. Rosario provided police with a similar description of the incident. Driscoll, who denied shoving Bolivar in the face, was judged the primary aggressor by deputies who arrested her for simple domestic battery, which is a misdemeanor. After being booked into the Marion County Jail, Driscoll was freed by her own recognizance in order to have no contact with Bolivar. On an application seeking a public defender, Driscoll stated that she had 3 dependents and $4,900 in monthly income. Court filings do not indicate where the former throuple members are now domiciled. That's fancy for where they're living to read that.
Wow. What is with all these wildly fancy words?
You got me. As with most things of interest in Sumter, Marion, and Lake counties, it says Jordan Pennington of villagesnews.com was there first. I have no idea what that has to do with anything.
He got the scoop.
He got the scoop, evidently.
He's been waiting his whole life to put that word in an article.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Sad but true. So there you go. Thruples Gone Wild. My new video series that I'll be coming out with as part of the Darkness Dink imprint.
Oh my, we're going to be so rich.
We are. Just money falling out of our pockets everywhere. Just walk behind us so you can pick up the trail of money that falls out of our pockets.
Yes.
Yeah.
My kids will be the first in line.
Yeah, they'll be following us as the money falls out of our pockets. As I promised, Jess, it's palate cleansing time, which means wieners, wieners, wieners.
Yay, wieners. Please isolate that.
I will. Our first headline, officials urge residents to use hot dogs to catch harmful creatures. It's one of the few things that can be done. We're coming right back here to Minnesota. Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is now urging residents to fish with hot dogs to attract invasive rusty crayfish.
Huh. Crayfish like wieners.
Yeah,
You better stay out of the lakes.
I better. Yeah.
No skinny dipping.
Just going to dangle mine and hope to catch one. Rusty crayfish, colloquially, I can't say that word, known as rusties, are invasive to the state, meaning they outcompete native species and spread quickly. They have been, eat them there crawfish, by the way?
I don't eat crawfish, no.
No.
Do you?
No. Although I did once in New Orleans, and it was okay.
I mean, they're probably fine.
They say you got to suck the heads off them their crawfish. I would.
Ew. No.
They've been found in 300 lakes in Minnesota. They are believed to have been brought to the area by anglers using them for bait, but have since boomed out of control. The DNR is urging people to trap the rusties to assist with their removal from key areas. Officials are specifically focused on lake areas where wild rice grows. Hot dogs, evidently, are apparently effective bait for the critters.
It's wild.
I wouldn't say go hog wild on what kind of hot dogs you're getting. Like, don't go for the Boar's Head $8.99 variety, which are
Yeah, you don't have to get the Hebrews National Kosher hot dogs.
oh boy, but those are good.
Those are good.
But maybe Bar S Frank's, 99-cent deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems appropriate.
But do you get the bun length or do you just get the regulars? Because bun length is going to give you more, and you can break.
It depends on how picky the fish is. If size matters to that fish, they're going to go for the bun length one.
Yeah, maybe.
If they're not too picky, they'll go for the little one.
Yeah, sure. Authorities are asking residents to catch the rusties using a standard, inexpensive minnow trap filled with bait. This is to prevent the animals from damaging native wild rice plants, which they tear from the root. Wild rice is an important food and cultural source for local Native American communities and for most white people to sell at most county fairs. So, yeah.
I love me some wild rice.
Once an invasive species is established on a lake, there are very few options because whatever you do to kill that critter is going to have tons of collateral damage, said Valerie Brady, project manager at the National Resources Research Institute, in a DNR dispatch. So targeted removal tends to be one of the few things that can be done. My guess is someone is going to take the crawfish and they're going to get the wild rice and they're going to make a dish.
Yeah, they're going to have a little jambalaya.
Crawdaddies and wild rice. You just watch. It's going to be Minnesota jambalaya. Someone's going to make.
It's going to be the newest hot dish.
That's right. Minnesota jambalaya. Look for it on a shelf near you. It's coming to your town soon. Minnesota jambalaya. It's going to be so bland, you're not even going to want to touch it. Next wiener we're going to talk about is this one right here.
Wait, that's a wiener? It looks like a dog.
It's a wiener dog, but it's an inflatable one.
Oh, it is a wiener dog. Oh, duh.
It's an inflatable one. An Ontario man dresses as a dachshund, and he's gaining popularity one walk at a time. We're going to Oshawa, Ontario, Jess, where a man who hopes to inspire goodwill in his neighborhood is walking his dachshund while dressed as a dachshund, and he's turning his practice into a legitimate side hustle.
I think that's adorable.
Yeah. Since the middle of summer, Rich Luckford has been donning an inflatable dachshund suit to walk his dog Mia. He has no great aspirations aside from spreading the joy he felt while walking his beloved pet. Just the way her ears flap when he's walking or when she's walking or running, it brings me joy, he told ctvnews.ca. So me dressing up like a dachshund, walking a dachshund, I figured that'd be pretty funny. The stunt proved to be a hit with his neighbors, who would stop and talk to him, take his picture, and pet his dog. Soon, his daily practice of walking Mia while donning the dog suit, which he found on Amazon, got the attention of the mayor of Whitby. After seeing his videos on social media, she invited him to come to City Hall so she could award him, or more accurately, his social media moniker, Undercover Dachshund, a certificate of joy.
Oh, I love this story.
Mayor Elizabeth Roy didn't tell her staff that he'd be coming to pick it up. So when Luckford arrived in his blow-up suit, her staff couldn't stop smiling. He went to check in the costume and asked for a dog license, she said. It was a great way to start the day.
What a great guy.
The certificate is meant as recognition by Mayor Roy and Whitby Town Council for bringing cheer and happiness to the community, she says. It's about the purpose of giving people something to smile about, she said. He left our town hall and everyone was laughing about it. Luckford has been garnering more attention over the past few months with his dachshund suit. Along with interview requests from the media, he's received invitations to take part in school assemblies, charity events, and is even being offered paid opportunities from dog groomers. Thanks to all the support and interest, his wife and daughter now want to get another dachshund. If I could make money at this and quit my job and stay home with 2 dachshunds, I will definitely get 2 dachshunds, he said. Here's the cutest picture ever of him and his dachshund Mia staring at each other.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that a
So
cute
he is on, I don't understand how he's in that thing.
It's a blow-up suit. So have you ever put on a blow-up suit?
I have not.
Okay, so in the blow-up suit, when you get in a blow-up suit, it's got, like you've got your hands and arms. Like, you ever seen the dinosaur blow-up suits?
Yeah.
Okay, so it blows up around you as I hit my microphone. So it blows up around you. So you've got full motion and everything.
Oh, so he's inside there, like his arms aren't in the legs or anything like that.
Well, his arms are in the arms and like he's got, and his head is where the head is.
Okay, but he's like down on all fours then.
Yeah, he's down on all fours.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So, but he can walk around on 2 legs. And so, but Mia just thinks it's the greatest thing to be walked around by a dog.
Oh, if I put on a Shih Tzu costume, Phoebe would, I don't think she would love it. She'd pop that sucker.
She'd bite it?
She would attack.
Really?
Yeah, everything scares her.
It says here, with the cooler weather fast approaching, Luckford doesn't plan on putting down his inflatable suit. Now, here's the other thing. With an inflatable suit, sometimes, like with inflatables in the front yard, you have to have it going at all times because it has to stay inflated, right?
Yeah.
So it says here, as a roofer, he's out in all seasons, which make him pretty accustomed to weather. However, it's Mia he's worried about, since her precarious size means it's been challenging to find her appropriate winter gear. He's hoping to find local artisans who can make some custom winter outfits for her.
Oh.
Yeah. As for future plans, Luckford is hoping to grow his social media audience with help from his wife and daughter. He also wants to start Wiener Dog Wednesdays, where other dachshund owners in his area can join him on walks, though costumes are optional. But his ultimate wish to appear with Mia is to appear with Mia at a Blue Jays game, a Toronto Blue Jays game.
Oh, that's great. I think they should let him do it.
Maybe even run the bases.
Now I want a wiener dog.
See? He says, I think it'd be pretty funny to have me and Mia run the bases. So I'm going to post this in the description of the program so you can see the pictures of Mia and Mr. Luckford together, because they're just darn cute pictures.
It's going to make you smile.
Yeah. So I figured that's a good way to end today. So,
that's the perfect way to end. Thank you.
So there's your palate cleanser for today. Yeah.
What a great show.
Yeah. So Jess, you've got stuff going on in here in October.
Yes, I have a book signing event in Lakeville on Saturday from 11 to 1 at Niche Books. And then we have a book release party at Canvas Convergence the following Friday. And everyone is welcome to come if they want to come. We're going to have wine and little things to eat and come hang out.
Right on. There you go.
We figured we wrote 4 books in 1 year. We have to celebrate.
Well, yeah. And I don't know, maybe a little spoiler alert. There might be somebody there from the Hindustan Times. I have
They're always following me everywhere I go.
might be a representative there. Maybe with a plaque. I don't know. There might. I mean, not promising anything, but there might be. So that's Saturday and then Friday, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, this coming Saturday. So that would be 4th, and then Friday the 10th.
Okay. All right. And of course, if I haven't confused you by now, just go to Jess's website and everything. We have a link to Jess's
Where? My website.
Yep.
Mhm.
We have a link in the description of this program, so you can check that out. This week, we have Mally Fox in for Supernatural News. And then Thursday, we have an old friend stopping by to talk about legends, lore, and ghosts of New England. Boy,
Ooh.
that is not enough of a clue as to who's going to be here. I don't know. I can't say anymore.
We may not be surprised by who it is, but we will love it.
That's right. So it's been a while since he's been here, but yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Going to be a good week. Going to be a very good week. So that'll do it for today, folks. We appreciate you being here. Again, I want to thank our guest today, who again, the book is a good one. And I want to thank Wild Blue Press, first of all, for providing our guest today. The name of the book is Presiding Over Shadows, From Chaos to Order in the Court. My guest has been Judge Michael Randazzo. He says Randazzo. It's if you want to talk about the old country, it's Randazzo, but it's Randazzo, Judge Michael Randazzo. Good book. Again, there's a link in the description of this program if you want to pick it up. Again, Presiding Over Shadows is the name of that book. And so go pick that up as well. All right. That'll do it for today. For Jessica Freeberger, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday.
For more audio and video archives of True Crime Tuesday, intriguing content, fun events, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. The executive producer of True Crime Tuesday is Troy Palmer. If you enjoyed today's program, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And be sure to join us tomorrow for Supernatural News and Pair a Share with Mally Fox.